chance to qualify for that final.
Yeah, and this is where we believe that we'll see probably a shake-up in the terms of meta that they've been playing around. So with all those things considered, we definitely want to see the best team to garner the most points possible during the league stage. And of course, just to remind the audience once again, 3 points for the ones to win 2-0 series, and any form of win will at least get 1 point even if they did lose out on the series. No wins, no points at all.
Yeah, so ultimately you want to at least bring the games to a full 3 series to get that point, because especially when it comes to the seeding, you want to try and get as many as possible, and if you can, you want to dodge 4th and 5th spot because you're going to be playing the most games. And of course, if you get first seed, you're automatically qualified to the final. The only difference is that you need to play the winner of that Day 7 match, because I think that's to determine the seeding for the final as well.
Yeah.
So seedings and your placements, super important, Contra.
And that number 1 spot is so sought after by every single team, because automatically you get yourself that ticket to the final. So with that being said, let's get ready for our first matchup for Southeast Asia. We'll have Team MYS versus Secret Rare, and on MYS we will have Yang, Nightmew, Foxy, Froggy, Yemu, as well as Rebox.
And then on Secret Rare, we have Shua, Miva, Dan, Heart1, and Drabscent. I'm hoping I said his name correctly. If I didn't and you're watching the broadcast, please send me a tweet. I will correct my pronunciation.
Is it Junior Absent? Is it Drabson?
Well, it could be Junior Absent, actually. That makes more sense.
We'll figure it out. We'll slowly get there.
We will. But I do want to remind our viewers as well, if you are looking at Team MYS and you're thinking, hang on a minute, I've seen some of these names before. Now, if you didn't know, Yang and Rebongs actually used to play for Renaissance they used to play for Renaissance last year, and they participated in the World Championships. So now they've gone ahead, they've decided to make Team MYS, and they've managed to pull together 3 players and are making essentially their own team. And I did manage to watch quite a few of MYS's games during the Malaysia Open, and this team just crushed the competition. They were that far ahead, they were that good, it was scary. So I'm really curious to see how they play up against some of the other regions.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the teams, let's talk a little bit about Yang here, Contra.
Yeah, and overall, we will definitely want to take a look at what he loves to do other than playing Pokemon Unite. And the answer is just straightforward: investing, man. Guy knows how to make money, work for himself.
Yeah, so we've got his favorite Pokemon as well. He loves to play Snorlax. He also loves to play Delphox. And I feel like the investing thing, it's so funny because Yang is the top laner on the side of MYS here, right? So you love investing. That means you must love investing in experience. Gaining the experience, having high-level Pokemon, and then just being able to run down the competition with whatever Pokemon you decide to play.
Yeah, and his best choice out here is Snorlax as well as Delphox, because he wants to earn some while he's sleeping. So I think that's the best way to do it, right? Investing. Definitely the smartest move, Yang.
Gosh.
So we'll definitely want to see what else does he pull into the game, though, because these might be his favorite Pokemon, but every single situation that we get ourselves into in the competition, it varies what a certain team needs.
Yep, and now I do believe we're going to be taking a look at Miva on the side of Secret Rare. He's also, this player I do believe is also a top laner for the squad, and love his trainer card. It's just you. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be seeing this Pokemon at all because it was perma-banned essentially in East Asia. Maybe Southeast Asia could be different, but his favorite Pokemon are Serena and Machamp, and his hobby is watching anime, and he just watches anime all day. I mean, 2 different players.
Very, very different, but of course we love both of them overall. Well, I believe that Miva is very, very relatable to all the other trainers out there too.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure, like,
I mean,
he could list us a really good amount of series that we could basically binge tonight.
Pretty much. I mean, if you play Pokemon, I think most people that play Pokemon will watch anime to some degree. I mean, could we make the assumption and say maybe the first Pokemon movie is his favorite because he's got the Mew sticker?
Could be. Actually, I can still remember the very first Pokemon movie. Even though it's been like, what, more than 10 years by now?
Okay, so I got a bit of a refresher because I'm not sure if you remember. Do you guys remember the 3D remake for the first
3D
Pokemon.
remake?
You didn't see it?
I don't think I've
You
seen
need to take a look at it. It was a little bit strange because I was used to watching the 2D, you know,
2D
the original one. But here's the thing. I actually hate myself for not going to the cinema to watch it because I think some people are going to remember. If you watched the first Pokemon movie in the cinema, you got a exclusive Mew card, and it was like, so the image for it was
If
the
only
tablet.
I knew, I would join you.
I didn't know. I was a child. I didn't realize that this was going to be valuable. But the image for it, I think it's like a holographic tablet image of Mew, where it's you know, like the Aztec
ancient
version.
Mew?
Yeah, and that
Oh, my
image.
word.
And apparently, I think it's worth quite a bit of money now.
Probably a few $100s, I want to say.
I mean, I feel pretty bad. I really wish I watched it in the cinema, but I was a child. I didn't know. I mean, I'm glad that we get to still enjoy Pokemon now as adults.
Exactly, and that's also a whole lot of Pokemon Unite for all of you guys to enjoy. And also, we might have actually mentioned a whole lot about Team MYS earlier on, but Secret Rare, hailing from the Philippine Opens, have definitely shown up here by securing a second seed finish. So, with them now facing against a WCS team somewhat. So
a hybrid.
A hybrid WCS team.
Mewtwo.
What do you think would be the best way possible for them to basically overcome this hurdle?
Okay, so this one's a bit of a tough one, right? Because I think this is going to be the first time that we see these two teams clash in a tournament. From what I did hear from the Philippines Open, Secret Rare is a team that's comprised of really young, very hungry players. So it's hard for me to gauge how good they are compared to MYS. But I do believe, especially with the younger players, just having that hunger to win and to be able to prove yourself, that can make a team really scary because that makes them play very dangerously. Sometimes you have to make those really crazy plays to pull out the plays.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree, and there's so many of all these young, fresh talents out there proving themselves worthy, and you know they have amazing reflexes.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait to see what Secret Rare could possibly offer, and since this is the league stage, I believe any team could have basically win it all if given the chance to
It
do
really is open. Like anybody can win it. It just comes down to, firstly, if you can qualify for the grand finals, and then secondly, do you have the versatility to play in the grand finals? It could also come down to skill, but from a lot of games, sometimes it really comes down to the Pokemon that you pick. Can you pick something that's just completely out meta? Can you be the ones to create the meta, right? Because I think in a lot of other games, sometimes when you go into a tournament setting for the first time, if you are the trendsetter, you have an advantage over the competition because they are busy trying to learn how to play like you. Whereas you just play like you. Your comfort picks and your comfort play style is going to give you a big advantage already.
Exactly, and that's definitely requiring some of all these trainers out there to spend extra time to do the necessary preparations and also come up with something new entirely if they want to edge out the rest of these competitors that's in the scene. So with that, I believe that we're getting ourselves ready for our first battle of the evening for Southeast Asia. I know you guys are excited. Make sure you guys stick to the Twitch chat because you can all win some amazing prizes from Pokemon Unite.
Yeah, speaking of, if you haven't already and you may have missed it earlier on in the stream, we are having a sort of special giveaway for people that do tune into the broadcast. All you have to do is make sure you're watching the stream on Twitch, and then secondly, sign up for the giveaway as well, and you're going to earn points whenever you tune into the broadcast. Once you've earned enough points for one of the rewards, you can go claim it. But I do want to remind everybody, it's first come, first serve, and I do know that a lot of trainers are currently tuning into the broadcast, so make sure to get those points early because you might miss out. Someone might be faster than you.
And of course, with that, the early bird always catches the worm. So with a lot of all these things considered as well, I mean, those are for the viewers, but for the players, you know, sometimes going on this online stage for the first time, it does get on the nerves if it will be their very first tournament. They did go through the qualifiers though, so at least everybody comes in with a little bit of experience with what they've got. But
speaking of experience, actually, I think from the teams that I did see and some of the competitions that did play, I'd say the most experience is probably easily Renaissance and MYS because firstly, 3 of Renaissance have played on the world stage, they've been at LANs, they've participated in a lot of competitions. Second's probably MYS because they've got 2 players that played at Worlds with Renaissance and then they have picked up 3. And I think after that is Team Rise. Now, if anyone doesn't know, Team Rise was the winner of the Indonesian Open, and the Indonesian Open finals actually played live at one of their malls. So they do have a little bit of that LAN experience. Not 100% sure about the remaining teams for Escape 5 and Secret Rare. I think the Philippines Open was online. I don't think it was on LAN.
Yeah, it should be online. The last we've checked in with a few of my friends from Indonesia. I know that Darius Drew, he's a big fan of Pokemon cards and everything else. Like, he should be watching these matches closely and also casting it in Indonesian.
I hope so. I mean, you got to cheer on for your countrymen, you know? You got to make sure that you send them the energy, you got to send them that love so that they can play at their best.
Yeah, overall, I mean, like, we have so many different teams that are basically champions of their own region in specific, but coming all together in the whole region of Southeast Asia. I think that's the whole beauty of this whole tournament where everyone's coming together to play unitedly.
Yeah. Now, I do believe we're going to jump into this next matchup very soon, but let's talk about what happened in East Asia and possibly some Pokemon that might bleed off into Southeast Asia, right? We did have a number of Pokemon that were very popular in yesterday's games. Contra, do you want to mention the MVP, the big man himself?
It has to be the Snorlax.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has made about 90% of most of these appearances, or if not, if we double check, it might even be 100%. Because it was not even banned in any particular rounds.
Well, I don't think teams are going to ban Snorlax because there are a lot of other more influential Pokemon, but I do think that at some point teams are going to have to figure out what the solution is going to be for the Snorlax, right? We saw yesterday. Let's be real, guys. If you play Unite, Snorlax is big, he's tanky, his kit is super annoying, whether you pick Heavy Slam, if you get blocked off the gold pads. I mean, he's a really tough Pokemon to play. So it would be pretty interesting to see if either teams are going to pick this Pokemon at all, or if there's going to be some kind of solution, because regions tend to have different metas. So we are going to jump into this game here, Contra. It's Team MYS and Secret Rare. Let's see who gets banned.
Yeah, and we start off here with MYS with a Sableye taken out. Meanwhile, Urshifu has always been on a high priority for either side of the teams.
Absolutely.
Therefore, we won't be seeing any of it in our very first game in the series. So Yemi goes ahead with the very first pick, and it will be the Dodrio, interestingly. We've seen a lot of Dodrios, and we have yet to see a Dodrio that has been able to really tear through the competition. But we've seen many a times when Mr. Mime appears, it will be paired with Snorlax.
I was going to say, Mew hasn't been banned, Scyther hasn't been banned. Now, of course, we are looking at Sizzle here, but generally speaking in Southeast Asia, Scyther has been the choice from these 2 Pokemon. So we've got some pretty big contenders on the side of MYS so far. On the side of Secret Rare, though, they've got the Snorlax. We know that a lot of teams struggle to deal with this Pokemon, and Mr. Mime. Now, fun fact with MYS, Froggy is insane on Mr. Mime. This man, I don't know how to describe it. It's like he's dancing the salsa when he plays the Mr. Mime. And you just can't knock him out. He's so tanky. He's so good at juking. So I think Secret Rare, it could be a comfort pick, and maybe it could also be a deny pick. I don't blame them if it's a deny pick, but again, strong Pokemon. I'm glad Secret Rare managed to pick it up.
Yeah, it's also interesting that we're seeing our very first slow bro of the entire ACL in general. So with that being even paired with the Clefable, I believe that this actually gives them a little bit more of a layer of defense on the front line, but ample of damage to offer from the side of MYS. But take a look at Miva. He's got that comfort pit going with the Serena, and if you look back at East Asia, we've seen what the Queen can do. So I'm absolutely stoked to see what this whole match can offer. So let's head over to the Taya Sky Ruins.
Oh, I'm so excited for our first game of the day, Contra. We're seeing a lot of burst ability on the side of Team MYS. You've got the Dodrio, who's going to be able to run around and score points. You've got I'm assuming it's Scyther to deal the burst damage. You've got Mew that's going to be able to sit in the back lines, either throwing out those Electro Balls or Solar Beams, and then you have to deal with the super annoying Slowbro. I think this Pokemon is very underrated when it comes to pubs because it's not a Pokemon that deals damage, but it's amazing for disrupting your opponents, whether it be from Surf Stuns or if you're going to go for the Scald Slow. But of course, most importantly, his Unite move. If you get caught by that, you're not going.
Yeah, you're not going at all. So if it's going to be a Greninja or even the Serena that's going to be jumping into a team fight, they really have to look out for that Slowbro. So here we go, having a little bit more of a tussle over on the bottom side, but everything will be on a neutral state on the starting point. So what we look at on the side of Secret Rare is that they need a little bit more time to scale up as well before they can actually offer those big number of damages, and we can see that they can actually have a lot of great AoE effects that they could basically pull into those team fights.
Yeah. Now, Secret Rare, their lineup so far is quite reliant on two of their Pokemon to deal a lot of the damage, right? We've got the Serena to be sitting in the front lines that can also sustain herself, and then you've got the Greninja who's there for the range DPS. Now, one thing I'm a little bit worried about here with the Greninja pick is that you're going up against Scyther, who is amazing at chasing you, and then you also need to deal with the Dodrio. If you're low, you are going to get knocked out, right? Dodrio is probably one of the best chasers, especially when you're trying to clean up after a team fight. So far, it's looking pretty good here for Team NYS. They've got the healing from the Clefable, and they're looking to play aggressive. They're rotating into the enemy central area.
Oh, they're looking for a pick as well. Schwa getting chipped off while Miviva has to run all the way back manually to the base. So
this aggressive play.
Yeah, this aggression that we're seeing from NYS definitely denied a whole lot of EXP going for Secret Rare.
Absolutely. So Secret Rare, they're going to have a bit of a tough early game, but I think once you've got the Serena fully evolved as well as the Greninja, things might get a little bit easier. But the fear is Yemu, right? If the Scyther gets a couple levels ahead of you, then that's when you're going to have a lot of problems because he's going to start two-shotting, maybe even three-shotting some of the tankier Pokemon. And there's not really much you can do as a Snorlax. He's quite immobile. Yes, he's an amazing initiator, but Scyther can dance around you.
Yeah, and that's the thing that they really have to basically navigate through. But Dan is going pretty low.
Oh no.
Couldn't make it into the goal zone in time to get a little bit more shielding, and therefore MYS dunks in 72 points.
Yeah, this top lane is very difficult for Secret Rare to deal with. But luckily, bottom lane, it's looking a little bit better. But they do have to be careful, especially with that Dodrio, because if they overextend, we know what that Pokemon can do, especially when it comes to getting those little quick knockouts. But look at the rotations. There's a lot of Pokemon moving all over the place. And big Solar Beam from the Mew. Gotta be careful with those.
Battle for Altaria has always been a little bit dicey over on the bottom, but what they really are seeking after is all the buffs that they could basically get heading into
look at this
the
group
Pokemon.
up.
We got a Regirock spawned up, and Team MYS is not wasting any time at all, and they're just hoping to see if they can engage.
It's 3 versus 5, and MYS, they were able to get the Reggie for themselves, and now I think Secret Rare, they're going to lose Pokemon for this. So they lose the Snorlax, Mr. Mime, Blissey. I mean, if they stick around, they are incredibly brave. They're going to try and prevent them from breaking down this goal zone, but there's only so much you can do as 2 versus 5.
Yeah.
But up top, their contract's not too bad.
It's all right, I would say. I mean, they do have at least Schwa going with some really deep dives, and with pretty much the Regieleki pushing in, they could still put a little bit more, but unfortunately, it didn't manage to step all the way to the zone, so that'll be taken out very quickly by MYS. So far, everything looks very calculated coming from a team that has participated in the WCS previously, or should I say the 2 members, of course. With this brand new roster, it's looking pretty convincing, but we still have 6 more minutes to go.
Yeah. Big group up here for MYS. So this team is really looking to get into a team fight if possible, and I think they are scouting to try and see what's the easier knockout. I do believe they saw the Blissey, but they haven't been able to really catch anyone else out. So MYS, they're just trying to maintain control of the map, right? Prevent Secret Rare from getting those quick, easy, wild Pokemon knockouts, and also denying that experience.
And you can already see that Secret Rare understands that they don't really have as high of a damage to offer, especially with the Decider hitting level 10. So anytime he dives into the back line, somebody's going to get obliterated in a sense. So you don't want to feigning Pokemons before the fight even starts. So you can see that Secret Rare, they're definitely preparing for that late game slowly but surely, and they definitely need to rely on Miva to make massive moves.
Ooh, Rebongs. I think he's just going to get backstabbed here, yeah. So, oh, they're able to deny the score, and that's 6 points. It was just 6 points. But unfortunately, he was holding on to too many.
Yeah, this is a little bit more of a miscalculation of timings as well. But MIS, they're looking for another Reggie still, while Hard is already on the pursuit. And perhaps Secret could stop this.
They've come in with the Blissey as well to buff up that Serena, but is this going to be enough damage? A lot of shielding's happening. Dodrio going to be scouting around the outside, and so far no Pokemon have gone down, but now our first Pokemon's down. The Scyther is down, Slowbro is down. That's a lot of the control on MYS down, but are they now going to be able to turn things around? It's them on the run. Secret Rare, amazing play. They just ran right at Team MYS. They've got so much sustain, so much healing, and unfortunately for MYS, it's only the Clefable that can really give them any sort of health back. So great stuff from Secret Rare. They've played very conservatively up until this point. They didn't give away too many pickoffs, so this EXP equilibrium is in their favor.
Exactly, and it's all boiling down to the final stretch as well. Whatever points that they could actually add in now, that would be great. But Secret Rare, with that really great setup and the layering of the defenses that made it look pretty beautiful. And they're diving in, multi-dunks at the same time, and there goes the goal zone down.
Well, they really prioritized that goal pad there. So, I mean, you've got the Regieleki being picked up here from Team MYS, so this will force Secret Rare to go for the defense, and I guess now teams are just going to have to start preparing for the Rayquaza now. That like, we're really getting ready to go into that late game, and I was kind of hoping, especially for Team MYS's composition, this is a very aggressive composition. You were really looking to try and break some of those goal posts early, and they weren't able to quite do it just because Secret Rare, they played super defensive. They didn't go over aggressive. They didn't feel pressured to apply pressure to MYS themselves.
And you can see that they clearly understand what their composition really does, and they just really want to look for that pixel-perfect team fight, and they could basically emulate what they've been successful in that bottom skirmish, and they will try to replicate that on that upcoming Rayquaza fight and within 45 seconds from now. So you can see both teams, they're just calm, collected. They don't want to make any form of mistakes before the Rayquaza, of course, appears, and that's where you know this is just down to that final team fight.
Yeah, I like the fact that both teams, they're really utilizing all the bushes because they don't want to give too much information away, right? If you show yourself in that bottom lane, then, for example, the other team is going to know that, okay, this Pokemon's down at the bottom. Do we want to fight them? Do we want to avoid them? Maybe we can try and do a backstab, but here we go, Rayquaza fight 12 seconds before that 2-minute mark ticks over. Who is going to start this battle?
Well, we'll definitely have to take a look at Dan. When is he going to go ahead to make a move? And there you go, heavy slam.
Going right onto the Clefable. They're going to try and push Yang back, but that's not going to be enough. And they've used a lot of their Unite moves. Mr. Mime already going into the front. Dan, he's going to be the one to start the fight. Big team stun here. MYS getting stunned left, right, and center. And Secret Rare, they've used all of their moves. They've used all their shielding. They need to fight now before everything runs out. And they've taken down 2 Pokemon. Dodrio is down. Clefable is down. They're now looking to go grab this Slowbro as well. Now, the only Pokemon left, it's that Mew and Scyther. Now, we know that Scyther, if you leave this Pokemon, he's going to be able to get those backstab knockouts. And so far, he's trying to grab it on the Mr. Mime, but this Pokemon is so difficult to go up against. Yeah, Mew not able to get that elimination. Now, Mew, he stuck around. He wanted to try and get the last hit there onto the Rayquaza, but who is going to get it? It looks like it's going to be Secret Rare. They get the final hit. Team MYS. One of 2 things needs to happen here. You've got to break all these shields and prevent them from being able to get those goals, or you're going to have to try and backstab. Now, with the Dodrio, this is very possible, but look at the advantage so far. 230 to 370 points.
They all have enough AOS to stack it all up, and Secret Rare have been patient enough to push it to the final run. And we are seeing 600 over points, and nothing that MYS can do to stop them at this point.
Oh my goodness, this is a big turnaround here. Secret Rare Rare playing so patient, understanding the pick-off comp on the side of MYS, and they were able to stick to their guns. When it came to the Rayquaza fight, they had more shielding, they had more health, they had more healing. This is the advantage when you're running Mr. Mime and Blissey. You've got so much sustain. This is so difficult to take down Pokemon, especially when you're trying to go for a fighting lineup. And look at this, the beauty of the Snorlax just blocking people off the goals. Now, can they get anything done though? Now they're going to try and fight for this. 12 seconds to go. This poor Snorlax being picked up, thrown around left, right, and center, but Secret Rare defending their base, and it looks like this is going to be it. They should be able to take the game. I don't believe MYS can get enough points to secure this game. Secret Rare, debut match of the tournament, looking fantastic.
Looking mighty fine, Danilee, and we are seeing them having a little bit of struggle in that early game, but they stick to that game plan with this sustained calm that they've had, and we were looking at, okay, we see Mr. Mime and also Snorlax, and then they pair it up with a Blissey. That makes them pretty much unstoppable in a way. So with that amount of sustain, they've been able to at least prolong those fights. So it doesn't really matter how much damage Team MYS could basically do in those team fights.
Yeah, sometimes it really isn't about damage anymore. It's about how long can you survive in these fights before you get knocked out. And if you can keep your teammates alive, I mean, let's be realistic, right? In a 3 versus 5 situation, who do you think is going to win? The team with 5, of course, because you've got 5 extra Pokemon to work with. 2 extra Pokemon to work with. So with the numbers disadvantage, and unfortunately just without this healing and also without the disables, it's quite difficult for MYS to really get those quick knockoffs.
And not only that, like when you take a look at the effectiveness of some of all of these picks, we were expecting Yemu as well as Rebongs to basically pop off in many of all of these instances, but I believe that they were also having a little bit of a miscoordination, especially with them being a little bit too careful during that Rayquaza battle, and then after that, everybody got clumped up and just got hit by Dan in the middle of the fight.
Just the beauty of Snorlax. I mean, this is such a common occurrence now. It's not rare to see a Snorlax come in and get a 3-man disable, a 4-man disable, which is what we saw, right? He went right in and also doubled up with his Unite, 4-person stun on the side of MYS, and with how fragile those Pokemon are as well, you just take too much damage, and there's no way that you're going to be able to outlast Secret Rare.
Yeah, and you know, there's a whole lot of hype built out around Mew, and of course it is a great Pokemon, but I felt like, you know, in this instance, maybe this whole composition did not allow this Mew to actually have those great instances in those team fights. We didn't really see huge impacts, but there was decent fights, especially on that early game. But you could see, based on this graph alone, that it slowly shift from that 6-minute point onwards.
Yeah, it really came down to this final stretch, right? Like literally, I think it was 12 seconds up until that the 2-minute mark when Rayquaza was going to come in. That was the game-winning fight for Secret Rare. I can still understand MYS wanting to pick up the Mew. It's a very strong Pokemon. You're able to sort of swap between utility Mew and, of course, damage-dealing Mew. You can get those really high-powered solar beams from downtown. You've got the Electro Ball to go for the little pickoffs. And then you have Surf Mew, which is just a big pain in the backside, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to score points, and then Mew's like, nope, swapping your way. But Secret Rare, they didn't care. I mean, I think their lineup was just great.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're going to be moving into the highlights just to have a look at how some of all these plays happen. Like MYS, they start off really well, especially on the first Regirock where they found a couple of pickoffs. And that probably is one of the few times that Dan got taken down and he came back for the revenge.
Yeah, this was just such a good play coming in from Dan. He was the one that set up for the team. And I think things could have been a little different for MYS if they were able to somehow get behind Secret Rare, because Dan was the gatekeeper. He was the one that was denying MYS from being able to freely dive in to Secret Rare's squishier Pokemon.
Exactly. It's just like how when you play all these, you know, old Pokemon on the Nintendos and stuff, like a Snorlax literally blocks your path, and there's nothing much you can do about it. Not even with Scyther's Cut in this case.
I wonder what would happen if you get a new item where it's like, you know, the flute that you had to use to wake up Snorlax? Yeah, just like the new flute item. Snorlax unites, you're like, nah, and he wakes up, and then you have to battle him. I mean, that happens anyway in Unite, but Teamy, take note. The flute. We need that flute.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Secret Rare. This team really, really showing off their stuff in game one of competition. MYS now need to bring this back to a 1-1 if they want to be able to possibly take this series for themselves. So is it going to be a 2-0? Is it going to be 2-1? We don't know.
Would you believe that heading into this matchup, we'll see basically an overhaul of the Pokemon rosters that we're seeing here from Team MYS? Because this clearly did not really work all too well against a sustained comp. And if they do not really change it, is there a certain band that you're looking for in order to stop Secret Rare on this beautiful play that they've been making in this match?
Well, I mean, one of the changes would maybe they just have to take the Snorlax for themselves. I think that's the easiest. I don't suspect a ban because there's just too many other Pokemon that you do want to ban. The alternative is possibly anticipating this very sustained heavy lineup because they did show it early. I mean, they did pick up, I think, the Mr. Mime and Blissey as second and third pick on the side of Secret Rare. So it wasn't... Was it? I remember Mr. Mime was second. Who was
Mr.
third?
Mime as well as Snorlax was picked together, and then...
Snorlax, yeah. Oh, yeah, Blissey was last, I believe. So they didn't reveal that until much later. So if you're MYS, I think you do need to anticipate the sustain lineup and maybe having to draft accordingly so that you don't pick a comp that just melts or can't outlast. Alternatively, maybe you go for a scoring comp instead. So instead of trying to go for team fight, you try and go for these very fast Pokemon. I mean, that's what Dodrio does, right? You quickly score points because the lineup on the side of Secret Rare isn't incredibly mobile. Like, they can't zip around the map. I think the best they can do is probably Greninja. But outside of that, I don't think they'd be able to deal too well with the scoring comp. But I do believe the draft for Game 2 is already Contra, so we'll have to see what the solution is here for Team MYS. What Pokemon are they going to pick to compensate for what happened in Game 1?
Yeah, and this is where they really have to take into consideration because when you look at the previous few bans, it has been pretty standard. We have not seen the Urshifu as well as Sableye in the first game. Therefore, does MYS want to open one of these picks for their own or basically give one away because they managed to secure that Mew? So we will stick to the usual, and we'll just roll it back once again. Perhaps Yemu once again with the very first pick. Is Snorlax going to be the main pick? They will take Mr. Mime first, so that is a smart move.
Well, that's for Froggy. That's
yeah.
Froggy's Mr. Mime. If anyone knows MYS, if you've seen Froggy's Mr. Mime, there's a reason why this is going to get first picked. So MYS going to be happy with this. Now, Secret Rare, they did lose that Mr. Mime themselves, but they're going to go for Eldegoss and Snorlax. So again, Snorlax on the side of Secret Rare. What's Team MYS going to go for here? It's going to be the Mew again for Night Mew Foxy, and it looks like they're going to cycle back yet again with Yemu's Scyther.
Yeah, this looks pretty much doable, but this time around, Secret Rare is showing another possible pick as they did hover on top of the Venusaur, but instead they managed to see that, okay, they have passed on the Dodrio, let's get one for ourselves, and they will stick to the usual Serena.
Interesting choice to pick up the Dodrio themselves. So this is going to give them the ability to quickly break those goals. MYS, what is their last two picks? Are they really going to go for Tyranitar?
Oh, we haven't seen this in a while though.
Tyranitar is an amazing brawler if you compare him up with great supports. Now, Mr. Mime alone with Tyranitar is scary, but Mr. Mime with Blissey is a whole new monster. You are basically looking at Godzilla on the side of Team MYS. And this Pokemon is great for fighting against teams that are trying to go for shields. So Serena might struggle with this. Unfortunately for Snorlax, he's not going to have a fun time. And interesting, Azumarill on the side of Secret Rare. So Azumarill, similar to Serena, is a Pokemon that can heal back. It can heal itself with the Aqua Tail, assuming we're seeing the Aqua Tail build. But my issue here with the Azumarill here is it going to be able to outlast a Tyrannosaurus or a God-Rana? I don't know what's...
We'll stick to Tyranitar if that's the case.
I mean, this is more like Godzilla, man. This is not Tyranitar. This is like God-Anatar? I'm not sure. I will stop.
I want to see it for myself how MYS basically pulled this point back, because when it comes down to ideation, Secret Rare they're doing exactly the same thing. Now switching up the Greninja with the Dodrio gives them a little bit more burst of speed in order to score some of these points. And for MYS, I believe that this could possibly work wonders because they understood we are lacking that shredding power in those team fights, and now we bring in the Titan.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how the Tyranitar possibly shakes things up, because I guess one of the other things I'd be a bit worried about here for Secret Rare, right, is that Tyranitar is generally weak against lineups that have a lot of ranged Pokemon, right, because he tends to struggle against Kite. Now, most of the Pokemon on Secret Rare that deal damage are melee, right? Azumarill wants to be close. Serena needs to get on top of Pokemon. Dodrio, if he goes for Tri-Attack, sure, he's got a little bit of range, but this is not going to be an easy game when you're playing up against the Tyranitar. So we'll see how it works. Maybe they can try and bully the Tyranitar early, make sure that he doesn't hit T-Tar until 4 minutes into the game. That's ideal, right? Delay him, keep him low leveled so that he's not really a threat.
But then again, he's basically moving around in the midsection, so he's relatively safe for now as they manage to spot out Schwan, manage to move out just in the nick of time. Since Dodrio is just going to be a little bit of that nuisance here in the early phases of the game, while they've been able to hold out with the Cypher all alone. So it's going to take a while before we actually see full commitment, but we might actually expect a little bit more tussle on both lanes happening concurrently.
Yeah, so Rebong's having to stay back. He did get bullied by the Dodrio a little bit as he did head into that top lane. So I think Dodrio is a fantastic Pokemon in the early game, especially if you're trying to poke some of the squishies. Now, fighting up against Mew, this is a scary Pokemon to go up against. Unless you're able to get the two-shot in with your abilities, you kind of don't want to fight into Mew at all because it could be a 50-50 split, right? So again, we're seeing Team MYS being able to reclaim that jungle, making sure that this Pupitar is going to get this experience, but we do see the Eldegoss rotating into that central area and Dodrio is coming back. So you've got to be a bit careful here if you're MYS. Make sure you give that experience to Pupitar, turn him into the Tyranitar, and then just start rampaging down these lanes. Now the things are, it's not bad for Secret Rare. Even though MYS is getting this experience, they are able to start working on these goalposts up in that top lane. Got Secret Rare scoring points, and their core Pokemon are fully evolved. So if there's a time to go, especially when you want to battle, it's now.
Yeah, Secret Rare does understand their power spike overall, and this is where you see up in the early game, they've already managed to squeeze in 66 points. And this is just continuing to stack overall, Dan. Just doing so much throughout these past few rounds, and we just love to see it. So far, Team MYS, they're just waiting for that opportunity to strike and also needing for that Tyranitar to come up online.
Yeah, so 7 minutes into the game, and so far we're not seeing too many Pokemon being knocked out at all. Both teams just showing a lot of respect to each other, making sure that they're getting their experience. So it's, again, very similar to Game 1, but it looks like we're going to be seeing that first rotation here again by Team MYS. They want to make sure they get their Reggie in the bottom lane. Now, top lane, they're not going to be bringing the Serena. It looks like they're going to try and solo for the Regieleki. If Secret Rare can somehow win this bottom battle, this is going to give them a huge advantage going into that mid-game.
That's right, and now that the Registeel is appearing down bottom side, Yang trying to hold his own, but how much can they do? Can they steal it away? And MY still got it in return, and now the chase is on. They're looking for hard, and can they do it though? The Azumarill has been knocked out, and Dan tries to stop them from getting the scores into play. But for now, MYS just got to hold back before they get those points done.
Yep, and Rebongs is about to turn into the Tyranitar as well. He is so close to that level 9. Now, we'll see if Miva is able to apply enough pressure. Maybe he can somehow get this Regieleki onto that goal. It will be amazing. First Pokemon knocked out, but Mew is here. You do not want to mess with Mew. So he's going to leave. It will unfortunately not get onto the goal pad, but that's okay. The damage has been done here by Secret Rare.
Yeah, Miva just looking sublime on that Serena. Now moving into the bottom end. Gotta be careful with those steps still as she's currently being chased. Meanwhile, Team MYS will still need a little bit more power-ups to even get to where they need to be. Things aren't looking all too clear for MYS for the moment, especially with Secret Rare off to a really good shot, but they're already seeing an angle here for a fight.
Yep, so they're going to be coming in with the Tyranitar. He's going to try and do as much as he can. Rebongs. Look at this poor Dan. He almost got completely melted, but he was able to get his health back. But now, first Pokemon down, it's Dan as well. This is the key to Secret Rare's lineup. And now 2 Pokemon are down. They've lost the Serena. They also lost the Azumarill. This is what you need to worry about as Secret Rare. If Dan goes down, you've lost your defensive measure, you've lost your big protector, and they might lose another one as well. Oh my goodness, Absent is trying his best to try and deny these Pokemon from scoring these points, but look at this Dan pushing Pokemon onto the goal pad. They want to try and give his team the team shielding, because of course if you stay on your own pad, you do get those shields, and luckily for Secret Rare, they're able to turn it around, pick up some big XP after those knockouts.
Yeah, that's a little bit more of an overextension coming from Team MYS, but you can already see how much of a sustain that they have in those team fights, and now it's a steal coming in from MYS out of nowhere.
The power of Mew.
The Solar Beam.
Yep.
Oh my word.
Just Mew things, you know?
Yeah, Mew things. You talked about the Surf. We haven't mentioned about the Solar Beam. I mean, she's just so versatile, like it's like a box of chocolates, not knowing what exactly she pulls up next.
I know, right? It is insane. So now we're going to have the Regieleki battle in that top lane now. 4 minutes left to the match. We've got 2 minutes left for that Rayquaza. Now, Secret Rare, they're going to group up yet again. Froggy going to be staying in that bottom lane for MYS. He will eventually come in. Secret Rare already beginning this fight. Tyranitar running into the front lines. Look at how much health the Eldegoss has lost. You've got to be so careful of Rebongs. He's in the middle of everything. He's being healed up by Yang there with the soft boiled, and they just can't do anything to this Tyranitar.
There's just no damage being done to Rebongs, and they absolutely have to run aside. Now that Gold Zone's going to be down 298 points now. Edges out Secret Rare, and they will secure the Regieleki. A minute more, we'll definitely get ourselves that Rayquaza, but for the time being, Secret Rare has gotten themselves overwhelmed in many of all these team fights.
Ooh,
and you
Miva?
just saw how that combo coming in, Miva. Well,
Very close.
Perfect dropkick, though, to get over.
No, he got caught, I believe. Yep, taken out by Rebongs. I mean, it was a nice reset, but sometimes you're just not going to be able to get away.
Yeah, too many members out of Team MYS, and my goodness. Now, I absolutely understand, right? Like, when you mentioned Blissey, Mew, Mr. Mime, all funneling everything onto this Tyranitar. Like,
why not?
Well,
why not?
This is like a bullet train just running down the lane. Like, there's just absolutely no way of stopping this Tyranitar at the moment.
So this is like a train, but that's armored up, you know. It's ready to fight. It's just so tanky. He's got the shielding, he's got the heals, he's got a Mr. Mime that can also tether up to him as well. So I just don't see Secret Rare being able to eliminate the Tyranitar unless you're able to catch out Yang and Froggy as well, right? He is... Those two players are the lifeline of that Tyranitar. If you can cut them off, maybe there's a chance that you can get rid of this big, bad Pokemon. But we'll have to find out now as Rayquaza has come in. Oh boy, this is such a tough fight here for Secret Rare.
Yeah, and I really want to see, do they have enough damage to offer to even get those supports, though? Now,
coming for the backstab.
We're running it through the back, though. Miva will have to get back into safety. Dan initiates, but they won't be able to actually get all too much. They actually get zoned off. There's no entry point, and that's where they look for that catch, and the fight will go on.
And there we go. They almost managed to catch the Mew with the Dodrio, but he was able to escape. Dodrio goes down at the beginning of that fight. Mew is still there. Dan wants to take him out. He won't even get the Mew. Lives on a sliver of health, and that's it. It's a wipe. Secret Rare are going to easily pick up this Rayquaza, and it's just going to be the defending game on the side of Secret Rare. What a comeback here for MYS. They put all their eggs in the Tyranitar basket, and he is delivering.
Yeah, and that team fight was so clean and crisp coming in from MYS. Every member of Secret Rare looking to stop Night Mew Foxy, but you still gotta consider everybody else out there. Now MYS is gonna go on a parade of points, 668-2 at the moment, and Secret Rare could only get a Blissey in return.
All right, MYS, are they going to stick around? Sometimes with these battles, I do get
Oh
a
my.
little bit scared, but they do have 30 seconds left on the clock. It will be very difficult for Secret Rare to be able to get the points in, even if they win this battle. Poor Miva by himself, unable to eliminate these 4 really big Pokemon on the side of MYS. I think if you're Secret Rare, you got to just start talking as a team, right? This game, it's basically over. What happens going into this next game?
And on our very first series here, we're already getting ourselves a tie, heading into the game 3 to see who will be the winners of our first match of Southeast Asia.
Wow.
MYS coming with something that have not been done by many teams before, and it was the very first Tyranitar to be played out here in the Asia Champions League.
Yeah, it actually is the first Tyranitar. I think MYS, they had a very great idea coming into this battle. They knew that last game, Secret Rare, were only really relying on a few Pokemon to be their main damage dealers, right? You've got Snorlax and Eldegoss. These 2 Pokemon aren't the best when it comes to damage. They do help in utility, sustain, and disables. But if you take a look at MYS, I mean, almost everybody, maybe aside the Blissey, is able to do some kind of damage, meaning that they're a threat when they're on that field. So I think if you're Secret Rare, maybe you need to step away from a lot of the utility. Maybe you need to pick up something that can deal a lot of damage, because I feel the Dodrio this game, it didn't quite do a lot for Secret Rare. We didn't really see him get any big score lines. He wasn't able to go into the back lines and snipe Mew. I think that's really the big thing when you're picking up the Dodrio. You want to be picking off those really small squishy Pokemon in the back lines, and they just didn't have any openings, right? Rebongs is running at you. What do?
You just run away. That's the only thing that you could possibly do. And if you're a Dodrio, yep, that's probably
That's
the
what
best
you do.
trait. Yeah. So with that, I believe this is where they really have to figure out the next composition that they bring up. Would have to either counter what's currently being shown by Team MYS, because from what we see here, MYS, their priority was on that Mr. Mime initially, and for 2 games in a row, Secret Rare have let this Mew pass into the hands of MYS. So is this one of the core components that they will really have to factor in to remove, because you see nobody has been able to even get a chance on any of all these back lines, with them being so nimble overall.
Yeah, I mean, they already struggled to actually get to the Mew to begin with, right? Like, especially during that Rayquaza fight, we saw Miva trying to come in from the back with the bushes. We saw Dodrio investing everything to try and get Mew. Literally survived on a sliver of health and just got picked off himself. So I can see Secret Rare having solutions. It's just, in this game, it really just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and I believe that in the early game, we see a lot of all these effort coming from Secret Rare to dunk as many points, especially with the Dodrio doing what it does best, storing a lot of AOS, goes ahead to go for a couple of all these runs. But these sort of skirmishes was looking pretty concerning from the get-go for Secret Rare, where Team MY is piles in a whole lot of pressure on that bottom lane, and after that, it has been just overwhelming.
Look at the entire team, though. I mean, we're very rarely seeing their health tick down to half, right? There's just so much healing and sustain as well on the side of MYS. Like, they can fight back to back. They don't care. Whereas for Secret Rare, they've only got the Eldegoss for any kind of healing. And this means that their fights, unless they're the ones that are dealing most of the damage and surviving, it's just they're not able to get their health back in time. So, I mean, look at this. The Mew still survives.
Yeah, and I think like MYS finally have answered back, you know, like, sure, play sustained comms all you want. We have something that hits twice as hard as you can basically heal, if that's the case. So when it comes down to what you've just mentioned, it's exactly the case. Tyranitar just fits perfectly into that comp where all these melee Pokemons,
Like, you can't run at them. I mean,
you can.
You've picked Azumarill, you've picked Serena. These are Pokemon that want to run into you and just fight you head on. Tyranitar, nah. Nah, you can't do that. Not with the Tyranitar.
He's definitely in for that challenge if that were the case, right? So that was absolutely interesting what we have just witnessed overall. So
believe that might actually require maybe a little bit more overhaul of what Secret Rare can actually do, because for now it looks very linear for 2 games in a row. They've already shown their cards, so it's the time that they have a plan B that they've yet to show the world what they're made of.
I mean, we don't really have too much data on Secret Rare, right? So they might have some Pokemon in their back pocket. I mean, Dragapult. I say Dragapult as if he's an amazing Pokemon. We haven't seen this Pokemon in the competitive scene yet, and I'm really keen to see this Pokemon appear. But I think there is absolutely room for Secret Rare to sort of come in and say, like, hey, we've got a surprise pick too. You know, you've got the Tyranitar, we've got something else that's going to be able to really get in there. I think if you are worried about the Tyranitar happening again in Game 3, if you're Secret Rare, you need to play a composition that's actually going to dive into MYS's jungle early. That's one of the biggest ways to slow down the Tyranitar. If you pick up something like a Greedent, heck, you can even send the Snorlax. Just run right into MYS's jungle and start pressuring the Tyranitar while he's not fully evolved yet. That Pokemon can't really do much by himself, and it's going to force the supports out of the side lanes to try and protect the Tyranitar. If you pick 2 strong laners, you can actually take advantage of this and potentially win the lanes. Just keep bullying the Tyranitar, keep all the attention there, and then strike the side lanes while they're still weak.
Yeah, that at least is giving the recipe of success already.
I don't have it. It's just, I think this is absolutely a way that they can think about it. I'm not playing in the tournament, so I'm not a certified player. I'm not a pro,
coach.
okay? But I'm not a coach either.
Well,
I'm a failure.
I think like that's basically ideal. I mean, you're not wrong at all on where we take a look at, you know, when Larvitars in the early game, they could only afford to do so much. I mean, it takes a while to farm up until you
level
hit
9.
Yeah, level 9.
It's late.
Takes forever to some players out there, and when we look at a competitive setting, like you're looking to funnel everything that you can have, and you will expect to bump into this Larvitar, Pupitar before it even turns into Tyranitar.
Yeah.
So
This was the last pick, by the way. So they didn't know about Tyranitar, but let's be real. Secret Rare know about it, and look at that, Mew gone. Are you gonna pick the
Dragapult?
Really?
Perhaps this is the answer, and also take note for the fact that we have not seen any range.
Right.
Okay.
Urshifu.
Well,
Urshifu makes sense.
Much better.
I was like, Dragon Ball? Okay.
But that also allows room for Froggy to secure Mr. Mime. Will they basically run it back for another go? That will be the question overall. There's also Snorlax if they really want to, but instead, MYSAs will still want to bring that Scyther back.
Yep, Scyther's back, Mr. Mime is back. I mean, so far these are 2 proven Pokemon. And Secret Rare, they managed to pick up that Blissey for themselves this time. So no more Blissey on MYS. I wonder if they go back for the Clefable. I mean, what else could they pick? Would they pick the Eldegoss for themselves? Like, how else would you buff up? All right, no Tyranitar, Aegis Slash. Totally fine. And actually, I want to see what Mew is going to play here. Like, what's Night Mew Foxy going to play? He played Mew for the first 2 games. What's his Pokemon now?
Not too sure if it's going to be...
I think it's the last pick.
It should be the last pick. I mean, we've never really seen him too much on an Eldegoss or so.
Ooh.
Now, Delphox at Alolan Ninetales. Now, this is getting even more exciting. Like, there's actually a whole lot of damage to offer on the table from Secret Rare. And, of course, you would basically have Blissey as well as the Snorlax to brick wall them. They would still have room for this Tyranitar, which is rather interesting if you look at it. Like, they're going back into this composition where it will still require level, and they go for that last-minute switch-up. Yep. It's the Machamp.
All right, so I do like the Machamp pick, right? This Pokemon is really difficult to disable. He's basically unstunnable for the majority of the game if he can get those levels in. He is very good when it comes to the damage department, and they have a really good dive comp. You've got Froggy to run in, you've got Mew to be able to jump in, and we just got confirmation from production we are going to quickly remake the game because I do believe there was a minor bug. So apologies for people that were very excited. Just give us 2 minutes. We're going to restart the lobby and we will jump right into it. But interesting decisions coming in for MYS. They've gone for like the 3 all-rounder strat. They've got big tanky Pokemon, but they are a little bit demanding in the levels department, right? You got Machamp, you've got Aegislash, you've got Scyther. Scyther maybe not so much. You can get those levels in, but they're going to have to try and figure out how they're going to get the experience on their team.
Yeah, and I do believe that they would be playing with a little bit more of a slower tempo as what we've seen in the past 2 games, where both teams usually will only commit when they feel ready to do so. So with that being said, I expect Secret Rare to do pretty well in that early game phase, according to what we've seen on their Pokemon rosters. And when it hits the late game is where they have to be a little bit more careful if they really want to seek their way to getting their hands on the Rayquaza or even Registeel, Regice, Regirock, whichever one that appears right down bottom, right? So there's a lot of factors, and now on game 3, stakes are high. We're looking at the first team to be able to secure the big 3-pointer. So I'm honestly not too sure, but of course, I do love myself the creativity being displayed by MYS. And as for Secret Rare, of course, I won't ever even call them underdogs or anything, even though, you know, there's not much data. They fight like true warriors and champions. And my word, like the first game itself, that was a true comeback.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they decide to do with the Urshifu, because it's been banned for the first 2 games. It was finally able to go through. I want to know if it's going to be Dark or Water Urshifu, right? Are you going to go for big damage, or are you going to be that really annoying Urshifu that's just going to run around, stun you up? I think in most cases it's going to be Dark, but maybe they're going to come in and surprise us and say like, hey, the buffs for Water Urshifu were good enough. We're going to try and use this so that we give openings for Delphox and Alolan Ninetales. I'm really excited to see how they also utilize this new comp, because I think this is the first time that we're really seeing them use ranged attackers, right? They mostly been playing melee. But now with the Delphox and the Alolan Ninetales, are they going to be able to create enough space between the attackers and then all the melee Pokemon on the side of MYS, right? Because MYS, they want to get in your face, they want to try and jump on top of you. Can you protect your 2 high damage range Pokemon?
And you also have to worry about that Tyranitar in the front line, so...
I think they swapped the Tyranitar to Machamp.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a very last-minute change.
Well, I'm not too sure, you know. It might just be that bug.
So the bug is...
Honestly,
okay.
I'm not too sure, but...
We'll find out.
Let's give it a shot that it is a Machamp, and that is also a pretty tough Pokemon to deal with. Like you said, like some of all these hindrances that they will be putting into these team fights will not have the amount of effect that they will require to basically take him down as quickly as they want to. So could that buy enough time for MYS to basically topple down Secret Rare? Because like you said, this time it looks a little bit better, especially with those range attackers involved.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited to see this game start. You know, we've seen 2 games where it's been relatively slow during that early game. Is it maybe time for Secret Rare to speed things up? Because the game's tempo has really been dictated by Secret Rare up until this point. Game 1, they were playing slow, they were playing conservatively, focusing on levels. Game 2, more or less the same, because they were trying to stay toe-to-toe with MYS. Do they now need to apply pressure to MYS, because MYS are the ones running a bit of a slower draft?
And of course, we're going to be moving into our game pretty quickly as we go back into the drawing board of the draft. So we'll expect very similar picks heading in. So we're just going to run it all the way back.
Picks.
So nothing is going to be changed.
Yep, so it's exactly the same. We just got confirmation that I think just because of a little bug, we had to sort of go back through the pick and ban phase. So apologies to all of our viewers for the inconvenience, but we will be starting in a moment as the players are just going to, you know, sweep through all these picks. And I presume they're also just going to pick them up on the relative players as well. So everyone should be picking what they're playing. Worst comes to worst, they can always just do it during the preparation phase. It's really not that big of a deal.
That's true. So, of course, we follow the absolute correct order. I just love the discipline coming from players as well. So
hey guys, do you remember what we picked next?
I don't know. An Eldergoss? I thought it was something else. Nah.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
That's all right.
We're just gonna have the focus
Oh, it
being
was
given.
Tyranitar. So it must have
Oh.
been a misclick. Maybe that's why they had to go for the repick. Okay, so it's not Machamp. Because we both saw
A glimpse of-
Tyranitar. No, we both saw Tyranitar
Yeah.
being flashed on the screen, but then it was suddenly Machamp. Maybe, yeah, it sounded like it was a bug. All right, so no Machamp, Tyranitar. Interesting. Really interesting.
So, of course, that leads back to our conversation as well, where having this Aegislash that also offers a little bit more range to compare with. So, ooh, this is going to be hot. This is
Absolutely.
definitely going to be the battle to witness. So, is it going to be Secret Rare or Team MYS? You tell us on the Twitch chat. Definitely, let's get it on.
Let's go. Make sure you're cheering for your teams in the chat. Send them your energy because, of course, they do watch these streams after the games as well, and they would love to see all the support from your amazing trainers tuning into the stream. So here we go, jumping into Game 3 between Secret Rare and Team MYS. Winner is going to walk away with 3 points, and the loser, unfortunately, will stick to 1. Super important that they start their tournaments early with that 3-point advantage. Let's see what happens here. Laning-wise, we're going to be seeing Rebongs heading back into the central area here for Team MYS. Secret Rare, though, they're going to be running that mid Delphox. So they're going to go for high damage, high burst. Let's see if this is going to be enough for the Filipino team to win against MYS.
And definitely seemed to be a really good chance here. Froggy just casually bypasses Dan. Like, you're still early, so you won't expect all too much coming in from the Snorlax, but he's still going to be pretty hungry to retaliate, so...
Yeah, well, let's be realistic, right? I mean, the chef is usually going to be higher on the food chain than the waiter, so Dan should have an advantage here on top of Froggy, but laning-wise, I'd say that this Froggy-Foxy combination is going to be quite difficult for Dan to deal with, right? And Rebongs has come in as well. He's gone for the Dark Pulse build as well, so being low health, he is being stunned up. They do eliminate that Snorlax. Early KOs, especially if you're rotating a Pupitar, is huge.
It is, and that wall came perfectly on time. Froggy just doing magnificent work again. So that also allows Rebongs to quickly get up to speed with that sort of pickoff. So Secret Rare, they definitely have to just keep it pretty stable until their power spike hits. So, of course, it's all down to getting this Urshifu as well as Delphox online.
Yeah, it's absolutely go time, especially when you've got that Delphox and the Alolan Ninetales ready to go. So Delphox has fully evolved on the side of Secret Rare. Let's see what the decision is. Are they going to try and apply some pressure to these goals? Maybe try and eliminate them early, eliminate the mobility on the side of Team MYS, because you do lose the speed fluxes once the goals are down. But everyone looks like they want to try and contest for these mid Swablu and Altaria. So far, MYS were able to get the majority of them, so Secret Rare a bit too slow.
Yeah, and Secret Rare just playing a little bit more defensively right now, expecting
so
this
many
attack
Pokemon
coming in. MYS, they're looking to strike while the iron is hot, but they are also getting chased back. Great retaliation from Secret Rare. Can they have enough damage to take down Nightmew? Foxy?
So
apparently
close.
not.
So close. Schwab almost had him, but the dash out there from Foxy able to survive. So no knockouts, no trades, and now we're just having this 1v1 here between Urshifu and Mr. Mime. And this is what Froggy does best. This player is very good at being able to control a single lane by himself, and now they're going to try and turn the tables here. Miva trying to do what he can. This is Dark Urshifu as well for players that might not be too familiar with the form of Urshifu being picked, and so far Nightmew Foxy just skewers him, throws him on a kebab, and then onto the barbecue. Ooh, not looking so good for Secret Rare. One of the big things with Urshifu is that this Pokemon can do big damage, but now with the Aegislash, I think the tables are turned.
Yeah, and you can already see all the skills all pulled up, but here goes Dan in the middle of it all.
Oh, the right side's going to get the points there. So Team MYS were able to get the Reggie for themselves. And Secret Rare, they've lost 2 Pokemon in that battle as well. They have the Alolan Ninetales here and the Delphox trying to protect the goals. But unfortunately, both being ranged, squishy Pokemon, they're not able to get too close to Team MYS. Because let's be real, if they breathe on any of them, they they are getting eliminated. So again, tier 2 is being protected here for Secret Rare. But look at this, MYS just diving right on top of them. These Pokemon are relentless.
Wow, this is even more aggression than we saw in the past match, and they are still holding on. Look at the regeneration, and it looks like Schwa's in trouble. Still surviving. Finally, they took out that Aegislash.
Aegislash is down, and it looks like the defense here for Secret Rare, it finally kicks in, but it did take a while, right? Some Pokemon did go down, and MYS, they were able to do the damage. They're going to go back, maybe continue to battle these wild Pokemon, get some more levels, but Regieleki is up in that top lane, and I do suspect we're going to be seeing a big fight up there very soon.
Indeed, where most of the players of Secret Rare have already congregated over top lane to contest for that Regieleki, but could they basically offer
Bottom
enough
lane?
because they're about to be overwhelmed by MYS?
Yeah, so it's going to be 3 versus 4 here because both range attackers on Secret Rare are in the bottom lane, and they were trying to go after Froggy. He is still alive, but so far top lane is going to be in favor of MYS. They're already able to take down 2. Urshifu is next. Is Miva going to survive? He will get both Oran Berries. They're going to try and score these points, eliminate this goal to prevent Secret Rare from having that speed flux, and it looks like they will finally get it. Goals are broken. Regieleki is exposed, and Secret Rare, they've lost a lot of control on this map.
Yeah, Secret Rare slowly losing the plot as well. I mean, they have not been all too coordinated in the past 2 couple of battles, and MYS, they just have sure damage to offer in all these team fights. And who do you really want to focus on? The Aegislash or the Scyther? You pick one, because I don't know. It's equally difficult when they offer so much.
Look, Nightmare Foxy is just going to dive into the back lines. And here's the issue when you're running that Snorlax. Snorlax is a great Pokemon if you don't have an easy way to just dive right past him. He's great at blocking, he's great at keeping you where you are, but if you get right behind him, he's not the best when it comes to defending your squishy attackers. But here we go, we've got another battle in that bottom lane. The Reggie did get taken on the side of MYS. They had the shield, but it looks like they're going to be losing Nightmare Foxy here, unfortunately. But look at that top lane. We've got Froggy, we've got Rebongs, quickly scoring these points in. And both Pokemon are level 11 as well, so they will be getting the boosts to their first abilities. And I just don't see them being knocked out here.
Yeah, there's not going to be all too much of a chance to eliminate Mr. Mime when you have turn around.
Oh no, Junior! Junior!
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts, man. Oh, my heart. My heart goes out to the poor Blissey.
Well, that's what Scythers do best overall, and that is just a clean sweep. He was coming in out of the players out of Team MYS. Now, Dan is lying in wait. He's just hoping to get a catch. The spot Nightmare Foxy, but there's not enough members to actually deal much, so he's just going to dive all the way to the back.
Ooh.
Not the wisest of move, but Secret Rare gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really have a choice. He almost got the Delphox, so that would have been a great pickup if he was able to get it, but here's the thing, it's a Delphox and a Alola Ninetales, both Pokemon, very high damage output, so if you can't get the snipes really quick, you will be going down. So it's not too bad for Secret Rare. I still worry about this Rayquaza fight because they have to fight around the pit. It's a small area, and there's just so much pressure on Dan to be able to set up for the attackers. Now, Alola Ninetales in that bottom lane, it would only be 3 Pokemon defending. I mean, MYS, I don't think they need to push that top lane, and they're not going to. They're just going to clear out the jungle, make sure they get this experience from all the wild Pokemon, deny it from Secret Rare, and can we get the Registeel? This would be great.
They're thinking about it. Most likely they could basically solo this because none of the members of Secret Rare, it looks like they are going to be attending to this. And also keep in mind that on that contest for the Rayquaza, they've already have been able to successfully spot out Nightmare Foxy. So long as they take out Nightmare very early on and have Dan to be positioned perfectly so they can deal with everybody else, but Rebongs, I think like that's where the clutch comes in.
All aboard the Dan train now. Can Dan set up for the team? It really comes down to him if he can get that really nice high horsepower, if he's able to get the blocks up to prevent that Aegislash from getting into the back lines. You can see the team is so tense. They managed to catch one, just the Eldegoss, and Rebongs coming in from that bottom section. Now, they are split. They do need to still be careful here.
It's just a little bit of a dance before the
Oh.
storm comes in, and here we go.
Urshifu jumping into the fight. Miva trying to set up for the team, but so far they don't get an elimination. They do some big damage, and so far Eldegoss is down on the side of MYS. They do have, they've lost a lot of their sustain, and now it's going to be up to Dan. The block shenanigans, the high horsepower, but it looks like they're taking Pokemon down. They've actually lost their Alola Ninetales. It's really down to the Dullfox to do most of the damage here. Blissey and Dullfox. Can they maybe get the steal? Because we know Dullfox, it's got one of the highest damage skills in the game. And no, they will not get the steal off, unfortunately. And now it's scoring time for Team MIS.
And they've done it magnificently. The way that they've been able to juggle off that pressure, even though Night Mew has got a lot on his back as a target. Secret Rare, they were also pulled apart in that team fight, and from that point onwards, members of the side of MYS have got ample of room to work with to slowly out-sustain and single out Secret Rare members. Rebound still trying to go for some points out there, but 622 is more than sufficient with only 20 seconds left.
Even if every Pokemon on Secret Rare dunked 50 points apiece, there'll be 100 each, they would still be 1 point off.
Well,
Even if they got the clear. So it would have been a very, very difficult game here for Secret Rare. But I mean, MYS, they secured the game. They just went for the extra points. They knew that Secret Rare were going to just try and score in that middle area. So man, MYS, what a game. I can understand, and I can totally understand what Secret Rare were trying to do, right? I think they were hard-pressed to engage. They had to be the ones to initiate because they knew MYS had the lead. They didn't have to fight Rayquaza. They just had to try and keep Secret Rare off it for long enough.
yeah, and overall, the ball was on the court of Team MYS, and I believe that this well-thought-out strategy of the composition has been working out so well, and there's plenty more that Team MYS will have in their playbook that we have not seen, but what Secret Rare has offered to take a point off of MYS, I think like that itself has been really much commendable, and we definitely do look forward to what else Secret Rare can actually bring into this league circuit of the Asia Champions League.
Yeah, this is a team I'm really looking forward to seeing play throughout the season. I mean, I came in with no expectations, and this is not to disrespect the team, but I wanted to give them my attention, right? To see what they can do, what Pokemon they can play, and to really show their stuff off. And so far, this team is looking pretty impressive.
That's right, and I think like there's definitely a whole lot more that they could basically work on. There's still many more weeks where they'll be challenging other teams here in Southeast Asia, but there's a lot of firsts that we're seeing here for day one of Southeast Asia. We see ourselves the Tyranitar, and we finally got our Muse as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's exciting.
It just goes to show why the Pokemon's banned as well, right? Like, we saw Mew a couple times, we saw the shenanigans it can do. It's like, yeah, nah, you're going back into the ban pool, you know? Not this time, get out of here. Oh, goodness. But MIS picking up those 3 points for themselves, going to be very happy as well. Starting off the season strong, because every 3 points that you get is going to push you closer and closer to getting that first seed. Like, so far, that's what the teams are aiming for. Get the first seed, guarantee the invite to the LAN finals, and then basically just battle the second seed team after that, right? To try and figure out, are you going to be the first seed or second seed going into that grand final?
That's right. And of course, with that being said, let's also take a look at the replays once more, because this battle, oh boy, it's been quite the tussle, but a lot of attention has been given to Night Mew Foxy on some of all these spectacular plays, especially this one though.
Yes.
Look at how far back he went in just to chase the Alola Ninetales.
Yep, this is the beauty of Aegislash. It's one of the few Pokemon that can just really dive deep into the backlines and just have so much sustain doing it as well. He's able to get a lot of health back, he's able to block a lot of the damage as well. The fact that he's diving into the backlines, he's drawing attention to himself, and so that means your teammates are more or less free to assist with doing extra damage or stuns. So Night Mew Foxy on the Aegislash. This man can play Mew, but this man can also play Aegislash.
Yeah, he's an all-rounder trainer, if you ask me. So that position for MYS here definitely worked perfectly for them. They beeline it into that corner, and it was the Tyranitar that has been able to choke out at least 2 to 3 members of Secret Rare, and that's where these members are scattered, and MYS just absolutely went in for some heavy punishment.
Absolutely. So that's going to conclude our first best of 3 of the day. Congratulations to Team MYS. They played fantastic for all 3 games. Secret Rare, so close yet so far, but they will still take home that 1 point. I think that's the most important thing. Start the tournament off, get at least that single point, because if you get nothing, that doesn't feel that great.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess like there's still many of all these games to go. Like sometimes you may not get the results that you desire, but remember, every single weekend we'll still get ourselves a little bit more of a chance. So with at least 5 days to prepare for or so, we'll definitely see what could they possibly concoct as we transition into an evolutionary tournament. I don't even know. I'm losing my words because...
Actually, that was really cool. Evolution, you know, Pokemon, evolving, getting stronger, battling, training, that kind of business. I mean, that's really what's happening.
Yeah.
As you play the tournament, you're going to learn more about the teams. You're going to understand their dynamics, what they're good at, what they're not so great at, the Pokemon that they play, and you have to adjust on the fly as well. You can't go into a flying gym with a grass type Pokemon. You have to adjust and either pick up a rock type. But we do have some great news, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a quick interview here with Rebongs. So let's hear it for Rebongs. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today?
Hello. Hi, I'm good. Thank you.
Congratulations on the victory. You guys looked absolutely fantastic. It was your first game of the tournament. How's the team feeling going into the tournament? How's your synergy so far?
I think for the first match we were like quite nervous, but after like a team discussion we were quite excited, and I think we like our mindset were all in sync, so we managed to come back. Yeah.
And of course, it was a really tight battle where it went all the way to all 3 games. And you brought up the Tyranitar on game 2, and I think that changes things a whole lot more. Did the idea came from yourself, or you guys discussed it through that, hey, this is that perfect pick against this whole sustained comp that Secret Rare had?
Yeah, actually we have been discussing like 1 hour before the competition, so we've always tried to discuss like whether Tyranitar will actually work against their team, but that's why we decided to, I mean, after looking at their comp, we decided to pick Tyranitar and just give it a go. Yeah, so it was a team kind of effort.
Well, you've done a fantastic job with the Tyranitar so far. Now, we are going to be jumping into our next matchup very soon, but I want to hear from you guys. Who do you feel like is going to be your toughest opponent in the Asia Champions League, just in the Southeast Asia division?
I think all of the teams have like a good chance to put out a great fight. I think this competition is very different because of the new draft pick. So it's quite hard to say who's the toughest opponent. Even like SR, right? They just read us like a book in the first match. So I think all of them are very great opponents. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rebongs. We're going to be seeing you in the future for your next matchup. But congratulations on your first win.
All right. Take
Thank
care.
you.
We'll see you soon.
All right, Pokemon trainers, that's going to conclude Series 1, but don't go anywhere because we still have another matchup after this, and it's going to be a team that you might be familiar with. It's going to be Renaissance going up against, I do believe it's Escape 5.
Yeah, and this is where, of course, we get ourselves into perhaps another 3-game series. We know how good all these teams are, so Escape 5, they have to go up against another WCS team. So let's take a look at the updated brackets of the table as well. Now, with the victory of Team MYS, they will be our team that will be garnering 3 points and now currently sits at first place. Secret Rare managing to squeeze 1 point in, therefore their current position to second. Teams such as Rise, Escape 5, as well as Renaissance are about to get into their games. Of course, Rise may have to wait for a little while before they get
next week,
there.
I think. Yeah, that team's playing next week. So they get to watch everyone. They get to see some of the Pokemon coming out from everyone else. Some people would say it's an advantage. Other people might say it's a disadvantage. But I mean, for us, we should be hyped because we've got a really exciting matchup coming up soon. But before that, we are going to go for a quick break. So trainers, if you have to use the toilet, if you need to go grab your snacks, do so now, but make sure you're back in 5 minutes before we jump into our next matchup. We'll see you after this break.
Thank you for joining us here in the Pokemon Unite Asia Champions League Southeast Asia. My name is Contra. Here with me is Downley, and trainers. We got a whole lot of great Pokemon Unite action for you guys, and there's so many things that you could do here on the live stream platform. Of course, Twitch is the place to be because you can actually walk away with a whole lot of goodies while you tune in to watch some of the best trainers of Southeast Asia contest to be the best.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the head-to-head of our upcoming matchup. Now, if you didn't know, it's Renaissance going up against Escape 5. Now, of course, starting off with the newcomers, as some people might say, for Escape 5, we have Moodoc, we have Moocrob, we have Winnie Peas, JXZ, and Black Light.
And of course, Renaissance is here to play with Kamaru, Ruvis, I, Solo, as well as Def. Some of them need no introduction at all. And we spoke to players like Kamaru before, and I wonder now, with a little bit of a shift of roster, and of course, certain members of departure heading into Team NYS, how has this actually affected Team Renaissance in general? Because the last time we saw them, it's been, a couple of months ago, back in 2022.
Yeah, it was actually quite a long time ago. But firstly, let's take a look at the head-to-heads of the players for the teams. I do believe we're going to look at Moocrob right now so we can get a little bit more information on who the players are. So we've got Moocrob. He loves to play Mew and Gardevoir, and he says Crispy Pork is the best, but Moocrob is better.
I love the confidence, and, well, of course, he is definitely a connoisseur of all things great. So, you see, he definitely loves all these psychic type of Pokemons where you have
the
Gardevoir
high damage dealers.
and also the Mew. So you expect him to come in with a blast.
Yeah, and we did sort of take a look at what this Moocrob was because, the production and we never heard of it.
I'm
and
pretty sure it's a food or something.
So it is a food. I think it's like a garlic fried vegetables. I think it's like a green leafy vegetable. And it looked pretty delicious, but I mean, garlic sprouts, that's what they were.
Huh, okay. So, of course, he's got some fine mixture going on with the proteins as well as the veggies. So remember, guys, eat your vegetables.
All right, let's take a look at Kamaru. Does he like food as much as Moocrob? And I'd love to see what his favorite Pokemon are. So he loves to play Gardevoir and Absol, and Pokemon Unite is his second competitive title. So he's actually played an esport title before this, and tilting from Trolls in solo. Oh my gosh, typical Kamaru.
Well, I think by now he's gotten used to it. I hope. Kamaru, hang in there, buddy. We feel you. So, with that, we see something that's pretty similar. The Gardevoir might actually be a pick that might be contested, but now with the meta shifts and so, perhaps not so much. But then again, Absol is a Pokemon we have not seen for quite some time, and remember the days where he just popped off with his Absol.
I think Scyther sort of took up that spot instead, right? Because Scyther and Absol, they more or less fill similar roles. They do high damage. It's just that Scyther is quite a lot more agile than the Absol. So that's probably why Scyther might be a possible Pokemon that gets picked up. We have seen a lot of Scythers not quite banned. But I am really keen to see this upcoming matchup because Renaissance, for anyone that doesn't know about this roster, 2 of their players, which we just saw, are in Team MYS. They are running 2 new players on the roster, and it's curious for me. I'm curious to see how the team dynamic might have changed with these new additions, because of course you can't expect a team to be exactly the same when you're changing 2 players. Maybe 1 player, the team is going to play the same, but once you play 2, you're sort of changing how a team functions in essence.
Exactly, and I guess with their wealth of experience, they do have a lot of ample time to also train up or even, work together to form that chemistry that they've had even with the previous members. And who knows, this might just be great additions into the team that can prove to be world title challengers overall. So with that in mind, of course, we're getting ourselves ready for our first game between Escape 5 as well as Renaissance. So we start off with Escape 5 with the initial pick, and therefore I feel like, on the orange side, you usually do get maybe a little bit more
priority on with that double pick going on.
Maybe.
Huh.
So let's see what the bans are going to be here for both teams. It's going to be interesting.
Interesting.
So we've seen our first Blissey ban. This is very rare. The Mew ban is pretty typical up until this point. So this does mean that Scyther, Urshifu, these two Pokemon go through. What else has been a pretty typical ban? I guess it's mainly those two Pokemon.
Yeah, I think like it opens up
Sableye,
Sableye
yes.
on top of it all. So it's a smart move coming from Escape 5 because when you basically deprioritize some of all these picks, you open up this whole ballpark of Pokemons where they can basically choose from. Now we see a Dodrio to be added along with the Urshifu, so we would expect, a lot of high tempo plays coming from Renaissance. Meanwhile, Escape 5, they say, okay, Snorlax is still available. Let's basically use that to advantage along with the scissor that has been picked up.
Yeah, I mean, it's too good. And I just don't see teams not picking Snorlax. So not surprised to see this pick up on the field at all. But Renaissance, they haven't picked up a defender. And I think with these two Pokemon, they might not. I feel like they might just go for another all-rounder, but I am curious to see what's going to be on the field. But for Escape 5, are they really going for Gardevoir?
Huh.
This might be our first time seeing this as well.
And to also add more damage on top, they're also thinking about Talonflame.
Wow, okay.
Escape V is just looking to shake up the whole meta in general. But Kamaru, with the last pick, he's thinking about the Machamp. But then again, now that you have so much range that you also have to deal with, like, it's a lot of work to do, and it's all about really navigating these team fights. Who do you want to pick off first, one after another for Renaissance? Meanwhile, Escape 5, they could basically come in from all angles, and to deal with the Sableye, Renaissance really have to put more work.
Yeah, they've got a lot of Pokemon that sort of want to dive into the fights as well. You've got two great Pokemon for scoring. You've got the Talonflame as well as the Sableye. These two Pokemon are quite mobile as well. Expect to see them all over the map, maybe trying to go for those little pickoffs. But it's quite difficult to really pick off these Pokemon in Renaissance. I mean, you've got Dodrio. Maybe Dodrio is probably the easiest. It's the squishiest. But Urshifu, pretty tanky, has a lot of disables, also has a way to escape. And Machamp, this is a Pokemon that can surprise you, where you might try and go for a knockout on this, but then all of a sudden he just turns around and punches you in the face, and you're like, oh wait, am I on base again?
That's where I would also say that this Machamp could also, in a way, challenge that Sableye directly as well, because with him needing to also get into these battles, and his whole kit allows him to be able to handle some of all these crowd controls as well as having that hindrance. So it's going to be pretty much pretty all right overall.
I think we might be having some latency problems here on the side of Escape 5 because we have Snorlax in base. We're going to get confirmation if we will be remaking this game because... Alright, I think we are possibly going to go for a remake here, ladies and gentlemen. So apologies for the technical problem. We will get this sorted.
Oh, it's moving already.
He's moving, but we'll double check and see if this happens. But we'll continue with the game for now, and we'll just see what sort of happens from here on out. But so far, Renaissance looking good. I mean, they've been getting a couple points here and there. I wonder what the comeback is sort of going to be here, right? Because you're Snorlax, and we are getting a pause. All right, so I think we're getting this remake.
I believe so too, because it's been like 1 minute of latency for the Snorlax.
It's a big thing.
He needed a little bit more sleep time, probably. So now that he's awake, okay, of course, then we'll be moving into the same form of composition to see what we're gonna get, because within that 1 minute time frame, that could easily be 1 level, 2 levels. You never know.
Well, especially when you're running a Snorlax, it's really difficult for the lane partner as well, right? We have the one Pokemon that's going to be knocking out all the Pokemon along the way. It slows you down going into that middle lane, and of course you do need to contest for those wild Pokemon in lane as well. So it's a pretty big disadvantage. Yeah, so I did, once I saw the Snorlax, I thought, this looks like a remake because it's just too big. It's too big of a difference.
Yeah, and of course we do advocate a fair play and flare play for all.
Flare play and
yeah, I mean, we got the Talonflame for that. So I'm definitely looking for it when we do get back into the game, because it's a lot of heavy setups that members of the side of Fee would have to do. So it's definitely a little bit more difficult to pull off when it comes down to coordination, especially when you have, Renaissance that's looking to also aim for that full 5v5 beeline type of fights to go true. So I'm thinking, like, what will be the best way possible to do that? Because sure, you have a Sableye with you, he's going to be poking and prodding, but once he gets sniffed out, it's trouble looming ahead for the team.
Yeah, it's a pretty difficult Pokemon to deal with as well, right? Because he comes in, he knocks off your Aeos energy, and if you're trying to go for this, like, stacking items, right? If you're going for the attack weight, for example, and you want to get those little quick scores in, Sableye just comes in and he's like, nah,
Give me that.
get back in the lane. Pick up some more Aeos energy.
Yeah, that's what I really love about, all these Pokemons that have been introduced throughout the past year up till date. There's so many different play styles for everybody out there, and Sableye has probably one of the most interesting kits out of every other supports.
Yeah, so he's got stealth, he can knock off Aeos energy, he can throw fake Aeos energy that damages you and slows you. I mean, he can send you back to base, like, what do? You're just sort of stuck there and you're like, oh, all right, see you later, guys.
Yeah, and when we look at, a competitive setting, it's also pretty interesting in how teams have been utilizing, not only Sableye, but also all the other picks out there. I think we've covered Tyranitar already in that past matchup. So in this respective matchup, of course, we see more familiar faces of, the first few generations of Pokemons that have been released in Unite altogether. Gardevoir. That was not a priority back in the East Asia bout on day one.
No.
And finally, we are getting ourselves that Gardevoir. How much of an impact are you expecting out of that Gardevoir?
So Gardevoir is a Pokemon that really relies on momentum, right? If your team is able to get experience and she's able to also get experience in her own lane, if she can maintain a pretty good level advantage over the competition, she can blow Pokemon up.
Yeah.
She does so much damage, she can do it from so far away, and you're going to have to send Pokemon in to dive right after her. And it's so difficult because she's so far back that it gives her teammates enough time to come back and help protect her. And then you also have to worry about, when it comes to the Rayquaza fight, her Unite move. If she catches more than 2 Pokemon in that Unite move and no one on your team can stun her, she will obliterate them.
Yeah, exactly. So that Mystical Mirage Unite move is so lethal in such a way where it basically disrupts this whole game plan if you are
It's a black hole, basically.
Exactly.
You get
So-
sucked in, and you're like, oh, I don't see anything anymore. All right, guys, bye.
Dunzo. Everything's Dunzo. So, yeah, there's just so many interesting ways that all these teams of Southeast Asia are playing all together, where we saw, we have so many different regions of Southeast Asia. We just witnessed MYS taking the initial victory, and even Secret Rare doing incredible effort to be able to also come in with counters of their own, and they came really prepared based on the interview with Rebongs. So I feel like by now, would you fairly say that this is kind of like a rock, paper, scissors between some of these teams?
Ooh, it's hard to say, really, right? Because
We've yet to see some of the other teams too.
The actual game and the drafts, they're their own games if you think about it, right? Like, you're playing a game of chess, trying to pick your Pokemon and also trying to predict what your opponents are going to play. And then it's a whole different monster when you actually go into the game itself, right? Like, you've got to figure out, how's the EXP allocation? How are you going to deal with the goals, right? Are you going to break them early? Are you going to save them for the Rayquaza, for the double points? Are you going to try and just rush for every objective? Do you want to keep your opponents on it? Do you want to keep them off it? Like, there's so many things that you can do in the game. And it really comes down to the players being able to try and predict or anticipate what their opponent's objectives are. If you can figure out what your opponents are doing, then it's much easier to control the flow of the game.
Exactly, and for some that I've kind of heard this quote somewhere. The enemies won't know what you're doing if you don't know what you're doing. Nah, I'm just putting that as a joke. Anyways, that's definitely not good advice if we were to move into competitive setting, because every single preparation means a whole lot. And of course, just fun fact to all of you out there, how do you really get good as trainers? Like how do you join all these tournaments and, edge out the competition? It's all the preparation and work. Like some of these teams, they organize trainings. It could be in the evening, at night, midnight, you name it. Like you have to put those hours in, and you have to also face opponents that are either equivalent to your level or even higher. So one step along the way, and look at where some of these players are.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the information aspect as well, right? Trying to find data on your upcoming opponents, trying to figure out what Pokemon they play. Have you played against them on ladder? Because I think that's the most important thing, right? When you're playing on ladder, if you're starting to get familiar with some of the people that you're playing with, then you kind of have information on them. You've played against them before. You might understand their rotations a little bit more, their habits, because every player is different. Not everyone's going to play exactly the same.
Exactly.
And so once you figure out those quirks, then you can think, okay, how do I kick someone off their game? How can I make sure that they're not having their good game? Because everyone has their own way of being comfortable. I think this is, so some people that I've spoken to, they always think about, oh, how do you counter this Pokemon? How do you counter this, counter that? Sometimes it's not even about countering, it's about comfort. What are you happy playing with? What Pokemon are you good at? There's no reason to play, let's say you are a master ranked Blastoise. You're a defender, you're a master ranked Blastoise, and your teammates say, oh, but we want to pick up a Greedent. But your Greedent's gameplay is equivalent to an ultra level player. I'd rather have you play the Blastoise because you know how to maximize that Pokemon.
Exactly. Yeah. So long as you get good, everything else would fall into place as well. Where I guess there's always that discussion of being one trick Ponita. Well, you get the reference.
Oh my god, do you really? Oh my god.
So. Sometimes some of these players also have to be forced to break out that shell in order to be a lot more flexible. Sure, you may not be all too comfortable at certain times, but once you've spent enough time understanding not only the Pokemon, but the game in general, what it requires at every specific moment, then I guess that's where you will understand how exactly to draft, how exactly to move into the ban phase as well as the preparation phase to basically get one level ahead of your opponents when it comes down to competitive Pokemon Unite.
Yeah. Now, I just want to say we do want to apologize to all of our viewers watching the show. We are still trying to sort out this technical issue with one of the teams. I do believe we're going to jump into the draft very shortly. And apparently it's now. So let's jump into game one of our second series of the day. It's between Renaissance and Escape 5. And we're just going to quickly go through the picks and bans again. We're going to go through the exact same Pokemon as well. We are not going to go for a complete remake. So the same Pokemon, we're going to jump into this game right after this ban phase. And it was a Blissey and I think it was Mew as our bans.
And with those bans, we've already seen a lot of picks being opened up, and with that, well, Urshifu has also been picked up from what I do believe was Escape V early on, and Renaissance. Sorry,
to
correct myself, Sableye.
It's alright.
Yeah, so, Urshifu for Renaissance. That's the right one.
It's all good. We haven't started the game, so no fault there, Contra. But we're just going to see the teams pick their Pokemon. The draft has already been completed for anyone that just tuned into the broadcast. We're just quickly remaking this lobby as we did have a latency issue on the side of Escape 5. So we will be jumping into this game in just a second. Draft-wise, Contra, I mean, looking at the two teams, who do you like? Because I know that Escape 5, they've definitely got the quirky draft. And then Renaissance, I think theirs is more of a bread and butter. Like, we see this all the time.
Yeah, I feel like for Escape 5, they definitely look to be pretty interesting, but I do see a little bit more of that conditions that they really have to meet, because some of the members of Escape 5 may be a little tad squishy, so therefore it's all about positioning and not to be caught out. So if they could do so, I think that he could basically get the game against Renaissance. But, you know, this is the standard 5 that we've seen many teams play coming from what Renaissance feel. I believe that there is a formula that works very well, and it is very well balanced.
Yeah.
That's the thing I like about Renaissance.
Yeah, I mean, Renaissance lineup in general, I just feel is also much more forgiving, right? Escape 5, they haven't gone for that classic healing support Pokemon. They've gone for the Sableye. So they don't really have a way of sustaining in the fights. They have the burst. I think that's something that we do need to mention. And if they can blow Pokemon up on the side of Renaissance, this could compensate for the lack of healing and sustain on their team. But we'll have to see what happens. This is going to be the first time that we see Escape 5 on the online stage. We're not LAN, we're online. But we have seen Renaissance. A lot of these players on the side of this team, very, very familiar. We've seen a lot of them. So let's jump into this game. No latency issues this time. We're going to be seeing the Dodrio going into the central area here on the side of Renaissance. And then we have Scyther for Escape 5. And we do believe Southeast Asia, they do love Scythers, not so much Scizors. So likely going to be the Pokemon of choice here.
Yeah, and for Escape 5, we definitely want to highlight how much could they ramp up from there, and it's all about Gardevoir needing to hit those levels to get up to speed as well. As for Renaissance, well, they do level up really quickly. You just get that Dodrio and you start going for those scores. So yeah, we have a little bit more power spike in the early phase for Renaissance in particular. So I'll definitely want to take a look at whether or not can Kamaru survive from here on, taking a little bit too much damage, but Winnie gets turned around, will get into safety, and that final touch will do the trick as the Machamp gets knocked out.
Oh, wow. Big victory here for Escape 5 with these two Pokemon that can just do such high damage and are also incredibly agile. But unfortunately, not able to score any points here because Dodrio's coming. But the Scyther! Mukrob just turns around, cuts him up, and sends him off. Oh my goodness. What a misplay from Renaissance.
Yeah, and on top of that, Escape 5, do they do best? They have mobility, they're just going to jump at it.
That was also the central laner Dodrio as well. Like, that's a big disadvantage because if you lose your central laner, high-level Pokemon gives so much experience away. And that's also to the mid laner of Escape 5 as well. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's going to have a huge impact into the next team fight that we'll witness later on.
Wow.
Kamaru still being pretty much up front. So that's where he's looking to deal more against Winnie, but the Talonflame is here to play, finally getting into the evolution. So there's a lot of control for the midsection that we're looking at from both teams, where Ice is just trying his best to shove the Snorlax away, but help has arrived from Escape 5.
Oh, here they come. Poor Ice is just going to go take the orange berries. He's going to run away. And Solo was actually the target there for Escape 5. Luckily able to escape. And we did have the Dodrio come in, do some poke damage. But no KOs for either side. And we have a fight here between Kamaru and the Talonflame. Oh, Winnie. Oh, watching these two Pokemon duel. So scary.
Oh, it's always going to be a pretty close call if that's the case. Jazz hoping to jump in the middle of the fight, but it's already done for as Altara has already been knocked out. So Dev, he sees a really good chance here, but it's a little too deep of a dive. And as a Talonflame, you don't really want to mess with him, especially when you're extending pretty close up. Yeah. So now, for the moment, both teams looking to be pretty much on a neutral state, but with the Reggie coming up, this is where we want to see if Renaissance could make there in time, because Kamaru's not going to join the fight.
Yeah, so Kamaru needs the experience. I can understand him going, but look at this. We've actually got one KO already. The Kirilla going down on the side of Escape 5, Scyther as well, and the Sableye. So big victory here for Renaissance. They will be scoring these points here with the Urshifu. Now we only have the Snorlax here. It's going to be very difficult for this poor Snorlax to possibly
Talon's on the way, though.
I don't think it really matters, right? Yeah, Renaissance, they pick up that Reggie Ice for themselves, and now with the shield and the bonus as well. Escape 5, are they just going to give up this goal? It looks like not, but Renaissance are also not going to apply pressure. Instead, they're just going to back up, play it safe, focus on getting experience. And this Dodrio, he's been under a lot of pressure, having to unite with as well. Poor Dev. I was going to mention earlier on as well.
Wow.
This has not been Dodrio's game. Normally with Dodrio, you're running around getting those really quick KOs. He actually finally got his first one, but he has not been able to really score anything this game. And oh my goodness, Camera with the timing.
My word. He just waited for the right moment. And I do like what we saw from the Dodrio as well. Like, he ran a big mile just to get into the Gardevoir. And now, members of Escape 5 slowly and steadily, they are losing a lot more of that control. What on earth was that?
That was a big hit coming in there from Solo. And now Talonflame's come in, but I think you may have made a mistake. They're right on top of Escape 5's gold, but I don't think it really matters. The shielding is just not enough. Scyther coming in, going to be doing some big damage as well. Oh my goodness, the bullying continues. Scyther goes down on Escape 5. The poor Snorlax trying to block, trying to deny them from going on to the goals. And will Dodrio be able to score? It looks like he won't. Ooh!
Oh,
That
pretty risky move.
Big whiff. Oh my goodness. The pain I feel for Escape 5. They just haven't been able to win these fights.
Yeah, and I believe that some of these troubles all boils down to a few things. The lack of easy execution. So it really requires a lot out of Escape 5 to really coordinate some of all these attacks. And so long as Renaissance keep up with this pressure, it demands more members of Escape 5 to commit. And when exactly is it going to be the case?
Urshifu, you got to be so careful when Urshifu comes onto the field. Now, the thing is, there's healing available on Renaissance. They can absolutely keep Solo alive. So, unfortunately for Escape 5, they've really struggled to get KOs, right? We've seen the Talonflame come in, and he's been able to get Pokemon low, but they just don't have enough to finish them off. They have the burst, but just if you can't secure the knockouts, then it's sort of for nothing.
Exactly, and here we go into the team fight as Solo gets chased upon, and Escape 5 having decided to go on multiple KOs, still chasing on, and Ice will eventually falter, but he gets out alive. And instead, it's 3 streaks in a row for the Cypher.
Oh, this has been such a difficult game here for Escape 5. They haven't been able to score any points. They haven't been able to get those secure knockouts. And it's just, this has been such a tough game for the team. It looks like it's just going to come down to the Rayquaza.
It
right?
has to be. I mean,
the big battle.
We're already seeing a little bit more of that preparation. Renaissance really diving into deep territories, still hunting out that Sableye. Gotta be pretty careful. Speaking of which,
Brave Bird out of there, but is it gonna be enough? Winnie trying to juke. Oh, this is.
Oh, he could do it.
Oh no, the Brave Bird. Oh.
Where are you going, my friend? Cameron's got him.
Oh,
so
no.
we carry on over on a bomb end where Ice will just continue to disrupt and keep the Cypher as well as Sableye busy. And well, for now, Renaissance feeling a little bit more comfortable. This is the state of the game that they want to be in, where everyone's fully evolved and already hitting most of the power spikes. So it gets more and more difficult. So when it comes down to this, Lucky now in the hands of Renaissance, more troubles lurking ahead for Escape.
Yeah, and it just continues here. We've got Dev. We see him poking away at the Snorlax, and there's not really anything you can do, especially if you're taking range damage. Like, it just, oh god. Snorlax down. I mean, luckily, he's going to come back in time here for the Rayquaza, but it just goes to show you, like, this game, Snorlax hasn't been able to really do much.
Yeah, I mean, the speedsters are a little bit too out of control. I mean, this Dodrio, you know, we might have actually have some scrutiny in the early game, but hey, it all worked out very well for Renaissance, and now they're just going to absolutely gatekeep the rest of Escape 5. They inspire Mudak.
Gets away. He's all right. He's under the stealth again. And look at this Blacklight being chased away by that Mr. Mime. We got the block, but it doesn't connect onto Ice, unfortunately. We do have a 2-man heavy slam there, but no follow-up, unfortunately. And Dodrio actually managing to get the big quick pick off there, and they do catch that Scyther. So 2 Pokemon down on the side of Escape 5, and now Dodrio going head-to-head against that Talonflame. Bird versus Bird. Who's going to be the winner? The feet or the wings?
Oh, man. I don't know. Let me choose. But back into the fight we go. Feels like this is going to be too much to handle for Escape
5.
Maybe.
While the rest of Renaissance are already working on that Rayquaza, and every one of the members of Escape 5 are
Brave
jumping
Bird
in.
steal? Maybe we can see a Brave Bird steal here from the Talonflame, but no, Renaissance, they were quick. Right side gets that shield, and now Escape 5. They have to burn through all these shields on Escape 5. Sorry, on Renaissance. By just 3 Pokemon are down. It's only the Gardevoir as well as that Sableye. They can only watch.
And that's all they could basically do. I felt like Escape 5 with a lot, they have too many ideas that may have actually worked out, you know, like there's a lot of damage to offer, but nobody could basically survive these battles for long enough. And that has remained to be the problem, where even the Snorlax, of course, had some hiccups of his own, where you have a Dodger constantly chasing at you, along with Mr. Mime putting all these walls up.
This Elder God.
Yeah. I mean, it's just killing for days and just hoping to survive, but 3 members a little too much for Eldegoss to handle.
Yep, 10 seconds to go as well. There's just no way they score enough points. And Renaissance able to sweep Escape 5 in the first match of this best of 3 series. I have to agree with you. I think you described it perfectly. There were just too many things happening on Escape 5. You had Stealth Sableye. You had Gardevoir that's going to be dealing backline burst damage. But then you also had a Talonflame that wants to quickly go in and go out. Then you also had the Scyther, which is another Pokemon that more or less functions the same as Talonflame. So you sort of had like a clash between 2 Pokemon doing the same thing. But then where's the setup, right? Like, who's going to go in? They didn't have a Aegis Slash that was going to begin the fights for you with the stuns to draw attention away from your squishies. So ultimately, I think Renaissance, their draft just looked way better.
Yeah, and I have another question for you where, you know, should they have actually go in for the Scissor evolution, especially when we've mentioned there's a lot of damage already being offered? They needed a little bit more sustain, if that's ever the case.
Well, okay, so here's the thing with Scizor, right? Because there's Scyther and Scizor. Most teams so far are going for Scyther because they want the mobility and they want the burst. Scizor is kind of outclassed by a lot of other all-rounders that more or less do what he does.
Fair enough.
So I think they were hoping that they could just go in, burst Pokemon down, send them back to base, and then they could take objectives as Pokemon are coming back to respawn, and it just didn't work, right? They were just really going for that momentum, and it never happened.
Exactly. And in this matchup, Kamira as well as Solo has been so on point for most part, while Kamira has been dealing with Winnie for the longest time over on the top lane. And we basically saw him style on the Talonflame a couple of times already, so good work by man, while Odette also has been able to seek out some perfect opportunities to constantly put pressure onto Blacklight, and it may have made this game a lot more difficult for Escape V than it should. So let's take a look at some of these stats as well as the graphs where, you know, Escape, I think, like, at least in the early game all the way to the mid game, they have held on pretty closely. It was more towards the late game where they were just getting singled out and then being picked off one after another, and you start to see a little bit of cracks showing up.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of cracks happening, really, right? If we could describe the 2 teams, I think, no disrespect, I think Renaissance is the plastic container, and then you have Escape 5, who is like a glass vase, right? Just any little knocks and cracks, and you're going to start to see some damage on that vase. Whereas, like, you got Renaissance, you can throw them against the wall, you can do whatever you want, you can step on it, and plastic generally is just really resilient, very flexible. So just Renaissance, sturdy, solid, great gameplay for their first game of the day. I am keen to see how Escape 5 are going to approach this next game. Are they going to keep going with this kind of play style, or are they maybe going to go back to something that's what we can say a bit more standard for Southeast Asia? Because we are starting to see how these teams are playing, and it seems quite brawl heavy, right? There's a lot of battling, not so much the score comp. It's just big team fight after team fight.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess initial few levels, we see some really good pickoffs coming from Escape. But Renaissance, when they lead those team fights, it looked pretty clear of who they want to execute in general. And
not only that, they've been able to basically layer it. So I guess we finally get our answer, right? Like something more of a standard composition will still work wonders because it is trialed, it is tested, and Renaissance just once again relied back on their skills to make it all work.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to take a look at these quick replays here for Renaissance and Escape 5, but I think this is just like an example of the craziness that Escape 5 was trying to execute, right? They had so many ideas, but sometimes you got to take a couple of those hands out of the cookie jar, right? Like you just need 1 or 2 hands. It's just something very simple, very basic, because you want also ease of execution. I think we spoke about this yesterday for East Asia, where sometimes when you go for these crazy lineups that have so many moving pieces, and if one cog in the clock breaks, then the entire thing just doesn't move. Yeah, like the clock just doesn't move. It breaks. So Escape 5, I'm curious to see if they have something in their back pocket. Who knows? Maybe this was just sort of a test run for them. They say like, hey, we want to kind of try this in game number 1. Let's try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll just go back to how we normally play in game 2.
Yeah, and for me, their drafting looks pretty interesting because like it started off with the ban of that Blissey, which kind of was a little bit of a that throws. It's a move that throws a lot of teams off because like they don't know what they're expecting. Okay, that's one hero that maybe not everybody prioritized, but because of this type of bans, we get to see a lot more of all these plays that were more in the recent meta that has been opened up. Like I believe like things like Mew, we might even see it in the next game as well if given the chance.
Yeah, maybe. It really depends on these bans as well, right? Because we saw, as you said, that we saw the Blissey ban from Escape 5. Mew got banned. I don't know. I feel like it was Renaissance that banned it. I think they may as well just ban it again. Like why deal with the Mew?
Stick with the usual. If it's been working out for them, then Renaissance will probably just stick with something that's pretty much the same if they want to, because it didn't seem like they were having any form of issues, so they could just easily run it back. But because they are now starting on the purple side, so this is where they will have maybe a little bit of shift of dynamics of how things are going to go. So we do have a double ban on the Sable Eye. They don't really get to see what each other bans, but therefore...
Interesting that both teams ban
You got the Mew as well. You got so many options.
I honestly, if I was Renaissance, I would not be worried. You've got the 1 game advantage. Let's say things go sour in game 2, they've still got a game 3. So they're still pretty confident. They're going again for that Urshifu, and Escape 5, they're going to be stealing away some Pokemon, right? They've got the Dodrio, they've got the Mr. Mime, and Blissey is going to be appearing here for Renaissance. It was banned last game by Escape 5, so I think it's time for us to see why this Blissey was banned.
I believe that they're going to come in with some sustained comp, as we're also looking at an answer of their own. Escape 5 just flashing that Tyranitar says, I dare you to go on all out sustained melee composition, and it doesn't matter if this Blissey is going to be there. But you know, like there's still going to be a few other options if they really want to look for some damage output. And interesting enough, is this going to be the first Dragapult? Do it, come here, do it.
I'd love to see it. So yesterday, right before the East Asia Games, I had a small interview session with Cameron to sort of ask on the state of the game, and I asked him, how does he feel about the Dragapult? Now, generally what's been happening is that in ranked pub games, I've been spectating a lot of Dragapult games to get a feel of how this Pokemon feels. It's very difficult to execute in ranked pub games, but Cameron said that in organized scrims, Dragapult is a pretty viable Pokemon, so I'm looking forward to seeing how Renaissance are going to show this off.
Yeah, and I believe that this is also one of the perfect games to do so, especially when you're going to be dealing with a Tyranitar. You want to be kiting around and deal consistent damage per second, damage overall. But with the addition of Cramorant, which we don't really see too much of recent, what do you feel is going to be the play here, especially with this Cramorant up?
The Dragapult or the Cramorant, sorry?
Cramorant, to complement all the picks that they've got.
I'm not sure how you really want to play the Cramorant here, right? Because you've got mainly the Slowbro and the Mr. Mime for disables. You could go for Dive because they need someone to jump onto Cameru, but then you've also got the Dodrio that can do that. So I think the priority is like, what are you most worried about if you're Escape 5? Are you worried about the Dragapult? Are you worried about the Urshifu? I think there's a lot of things happening. We're going to have to leave it to the players what you want to prioritize, because we're also seeing some new things. I'm very sure Escape 5 are just as confused as us about the Dragapult. They don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and we see very quickly Renaissance goes in to put some work on duty. So standard laning going on for both sides, but it will take a while before we see this Dragapult going in with a little bit more of that high pressing attacks. And of course, we've been discussing a little bit just about a couple days before, well, actually a week ago, right? Where when you play Dragapult, you're looking at, so much mobility, and you can also do up some of all these spells like Phantom Lance. Yeah.
Phantom Force.
Phantom Force.
Well, I'm curious to see if it's Phantom Force or Dragon Dance. I think most of the people I've seen play this have been going for Phantom Force because you want to use the stealth, you get the bonus damage. So I think how generally has been looking is you're going for Phantom Force and Shadow Ball. I mean, Dragon Breath, I think, is going to be viable in some cases, and I'm wondering if it might be in this game because it gives you an AoE burn pool on the floor. Looks like Macrob, unfortunately, is going to be KO'd here. Cameru here with the Dragapult doing a little bit of basic attack damage here. And Mr. Mime's coming in, but I don't think they can catch these two Pokemon. So Cameru's going to back up, back into the central area, focus on getting to that final form. But we already are starting to see the threat of the Jet Dragon.
Black Knight, he's just going to be able to get even more EXP as they chase them all down. They'll be hitting level 7 soon, so this Tyranitar might actually come in online very, very quickly. Meanwhile, Renaissance, most of the members are still at level 4, so they're losing a lot of EXP, I would say.
I mean, it's not too much. I don't think you're really fussed here. I mean, Renaissance are looking okay. Unfortunately, though, this Blissey is going to go down for free. But while that's happening, Renaissance are just going to continue on knocking out wild Pokemon in those side lanes. They're still waiting to hit their timings because for Renaissance, you want to make sure that you get that Mamoswine fully evolved. Same thing with the Dragapult. You are looking at a couple of late game Pokemon timings. Whereas for Escape 5, it's only really the Tyranitar they're trying to evolve here. So unfortunately, this poor Blissey, you're going to have to try and 1v3, but there's only so much you can do in that top lane.
Yeah, and there we go. The first goal zone already knocked out while Jazz is getting caught out, and immediately Renaissance jumps on top of that Pokemon. Mr. Mime's already knocked out.
It's Dragon Dance.
Wow.
Okay, interesting choice from Cameru. So not the stealth. I kind of like this because if you look at Escape 5's lineup, they don't have too many disables to catch him out during that Dragon Dance. So he can just sort of zoom around, get those basic attacks off, and essentially you're doing a lot of free damage. And it's also a great movement ability because it lets you cover so much ground.
That's true, especially when you have to escape from the wrath of a Tyranitar that's actually on the way, like what it looks to be, but with all that speed going on, it's really hard to actually go for a catch. While the Dodrio got to be careful though, trying to look for a flank angle, but it should be dealt with. Cameru's pretty low, and he still outplays the Dodrio.
Oh man, you've got to be so careful with that Dragapult, and with that knockout as well. That's going to be a nice chunk of experience to this Pokemon. Level 10, the highest Pokemon on the field. This is absolutely terrifying, especially for this glass cannon. He's going to do so much damage with this level advantage, and it just gets worse from here on out unless someone on Escape 5 is going to be able to catch up. It looks like they will unfortunately lose that poor Pillow-Swine on the side of Renaissance, and Reggie Alecki will be started here by Macrob. And the team is slowly coming in, but can they get it? It looks like they should be able to. Renaissance more focused on that bottom lane.
Yeah, it's not going to be all too much of a problem, but Renaissance will just look to knock out Reggie Lecky before moving into the goalpost wall. Heading over to bottom side, seems like Jazz have been having some issues of his own, trying to basically hold the fort while this Blissey is soaking all the damage. But this Tyranitar won't be able to survive. Look at how fast Cameron basically goes into shred their HP bar, and he's still doing it. That is a triple streak of knockout, and Renaissance will pave the way
to Dragapult meta. Oh my goodness, we are starting to see the rampage of the Dragapult himself, and I think if you're Escape 5, this Dragapult has to be dealt with. But they don't have an easy way of doing it. The only one that can really do it is Dodrio, but he's a level behind. Dodrio is a Pokemon that ideally wants to be a couple levels ahead of whoever they're chasing because you get that extra damage and also your opponents are missing out on the extra defensive stats. But here we go, we do have a battle. Black Knight on the Tyranitar going to be uniting as well, but that's just not going to be enough. The heals not able to keep him alive. A lot of the damage going to be lost on Escape 5, and Renaissance going to survive. The shields, the heals, it was just enough, and here comes Cameron, but no, he's losing a lot of health. It looks like he will go down to the Dodrio, and now can Dodrio save it for his team? Mukrob pulling a lot of weights, and this man is making it work for Escape 5.
The cleanup crew arriving. Mukrob still gets it. It's a 4-3 going on, and he just answers back to Cameron. Anything you could do, I could possibly do it better.
If they want the Reggie, they've got to do it now.
They should be able to
There
secure
it is.
it, as the rest of Renaissance won't be anywhere close by. And they are still on the chase, though. Are they sure they want to commit?
Oh, there's no Unite moves on anyone on the side of Renaissance, but Escape 5, they are struggling, but here we go, Unite, they're coming in from the Cramorant. Look at him, just shooting Pikachus from downtown. He will go down, but he's done the damage. And oh my goodness, I think Renaissance, they lost a lot of the momentum that they had just now. And with all these Pokemon going down, they're giving away so much experience to Escape 5. It's a level 14 Mukrob. This Dodrio has caught right up and he's racing ahead.
I just love how this Dodger knows the in and out of the entirety of the map. Just almost being impossible to catch, and was so monumental in that extended team fight that we had over onto this bottom lane. One more minute though, that is the true test for both teams, where we see Renaissance when in some of these fights, the moment you catch Kamuro off, like, it's so much easier to do.
Yeah, I'm very sure Renaissance might be regretting losing Cameru in that fight, right? Because high-level Pokemon give out so much experience when they get knocked out. And of course, you've given it to probably the worst Pokemon on the side of Escape 5, which is that Dodrio. So he's going to be a menace, but not all hope is lost. Dodrio is still a very squishy Pokemon, and if you can manage to get a very nicely timed stun, he is quite squishy and very knockoutable.
That's true. And because already you see Mukrob has one target in mind. It's Cameron. He's going to be hitting it hard all the way into the deep back lines. And then, of course, Renaissance will always have to have somebody on the guard. So now, less than 10 seconds on the clock. Rayquaza is coming up, and they get a catch.
Mamoswine! Oh, they will be able to save Mamoswine. He's going to teleport back to base as well. He's going to heal, but look up top, Mukrob. He's going to try and score a 50-pointer, and looks like he was successfully able to get 100 points in. And we've already lost a Pokemon on the side of Renaissance. They've lost their Scyther, and the fight continues here for Escape 5 with the number disadvantage. Mukrob there in the front lines, almost going down. He was able to quickly get out of there. Maybe he'll cycle back in. Maybe he'll score some points, but Black Knight losing health rapidly. And look at this, Mamoswine's coming in, dealing some big damage. We will see the Unite there from Black Knight, and he's going to be doing so much. The big stops, the big damage. They've lost Cameru. That's a big source of damage lost on the side of Renaissance. And now this team is left reeling. 3 Pokemon up against 5. And Escape 5, they have all the healing in the world here with that Mr. Mime and with Mukrob as well. It's going to make it impossible for that Scyther to go for the steal.
My word. Escape 5 bouncing back into the game.
It was stolen.
Wait.
Renaissance got it.
Renaissance got it.
Actually got the Zapdos. They're going to start scoring points, but if they can break this shield, this poor Blissey isn't going to get it. So Escape 5 still have the advantage, Contra.
Escape 5, they really have to hold on for dear life, though. I mean, this is as close as it gets. Less than a minute, 45 seconds. Mamoswine's charging right in. Mudek is already on the charge, and they're just hugging it so tightly on those goalposts. Renaissance.
I think Ice is the only one that has that score Rayquaza shield. Oh no, we've got some here on the Urshifu as well. So this is important. If they're able to create space to score, they need more than 100 points to win this game. So they need to score all these points on the Mammoth Swine as well as the Urshifu. But even then, it's not enough because look at this. Winnie's going to score 100! Winnie! He may have just secured this game, but look at the top lane. We're starting to see those points in. The knockouts are happening. 10 seconds to go. Can Renaissance score these points? 16 from the Mammoth Swine. Is there any more? I don't think they can get it. 22 from the Cramorant in base. I think Escape 5...
I see a 60 for Renaissance as well.
Oh my goodness, I think this is too close. But I actually think
we gotta
Escape
take a
5
look. Who's gonna get it?
Renaissance
Oh
have done
my
it!
word!
They have done it! I thought Winnie scored enough points, but Renaissance with the brute force down the lanes, right to the home base. They said, that's okay, we've got the manpower. We are going to knock this game out of the park. Oh my goodness.
Definitely, this game was down to the microsecond because the last I saw on the screen, it was the Mammoth Swine with a final 60-pointer. That's the make or break in that 0.5 second or less. I couldn't believe this game, but congratulations to Renaissance as they've been able to pull the game back with that Rayquaza steal, but it took them so much.
Amazing.
And Escape almost put up that perfect defense as well.
Oh my goodness.
I felt like this could have, would have, should have landed in the hands of Escape 5.
Well, it makes you wonder if Escape 5, let's say Winnie was back at base trying to defend with the team, would Renaissance have been able to get enough of those points in, right? Because every match, it's a balancing game of whether you should have someone trying to score last minute points and someone trying to defend with the team. And Winnie has done most of the damage for the team actually on Escape 5. So if they were able to break those shields on the side of Renaissance, I think we could have gone for a game 3. But, I mean, they did their best. They tried to make the right plays, but Renaissance just coming in clutch with those last couple points. End the series 2-0.
I really got to watch that on replay again, and again. I mean, we really have to see all these small little details where, look at that.
Yep.
All the way at the 10-minute mark. It was literally that close. And we saw, like, the way that it has all been played out by Escape 5. They've been just basically hammering them down by the 6 to 8 minute point. And we thought, even with them clearing out Renaissance, they would have actually secured that Rayquaza. And just out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean...
I need that recap. I need it.
Yeah, I mean, look at Winnie, though. Like, he tried his absolute best to get those couple points in the end game. He scored 122 by himself. He scored the 100 earlier on, and then after that he scored, I think he must have scored like another 40. Oh, I mean, it was technically just like the 22, right? Because he did the 100-pointer earlier, but oh my goodness. What? So I need to see who got the steal on the side of Renaissance, because originally it looked like it was Escape 5. They lost the Scyther just as the Rayquaza went down. I mean, oh my goodness, the steals, you know.
This game is pretty exciting, and I think
Back and forth.
What else could have actually topped the performance of both of these teams here? I think like Moocrop shows us some of the best plays that we've seen out of all the Dodgers that we had.
Yes. Yeah, I think Moocrop, he did a fantastic job in making sure that he didn't mentally lose the game, right? Because when you're playing something like a Dodrio, which is very momentum heavy, sometimes if you don't get that lead, it's going to sort of tilt you. But who got the Rayquaza? Oh my goodness. Okay, it was the Urshifu. So Urshifu is insane. It's such a good Pokemon for when you're trying to get those final hits. But look at this. I mean, there were scoring points. There was just no way that Moocrop himself was going to break the shield. Yeah, they got the points. And I wonder if they didn't lose those Pokemon on the goal pad. Because when you get knocked out, you lose Eos energy even if you have nothing. Could it have been different?
It could have been very
if they could
different.
Have just survived.
1 second is the main difference here for most of these teams out there. And oh boy, it really felt for Escape 5, I mean, they did really, really well, but they still have a lot of matches up ahead coming into all these other weeks out there. So we definitely will look forward to what will they actually put into all of that. And we're going to be having Renaissance now joining us with this interview after their massive victory.
All right, here we go. Hey, Renaissance, how you guys doing?
You gotta
Hang on,
put your
can you
mic
put the mic
closer up,
closer to your
because like we gotta hear you, voice.
All right, let's try that again. How you guys doing today? I think it might be muted. Hang on, let's try and get this sorted, guys. All right, one sec. All right, we're just gonna get this fixed, folks. Don't worry. We are professionals.
Alrighty.
All right, let's try this again. Okay, so we're hearing that your microphone might be a little bit too soft. Is there any way you guys can try and turn that up on your microphone settings?
We'll give them a little time. All right, don't worry.
All right, we're gonna try and get them.
Oh,
Wait.
there we go.
There we go.
Oh,
Hi guys,
as you
welcome.
can see, we are not quite experts on setting the mic.
It's okay. You guys are experts at Pokemon Unite. That's good enough for us.
And of course, welcome on board to this interview. You guys were phenomenal. Let's also talk about this whole series where Game 1, you guys basically cruised through it. But Game 2, it was a matter of just split second and with some clutch steals involved. Tell us, how do you feel right after that game ended? Were you expecting that win out of that split second move?
Honestly, the last part was pretty intense, and since our whole team was down and there was like 5 enemies up at Rayquaza Pit, it was like quite an intense flip. I didn't expect to get it myself. So when we actually stole it, our whole team was like cheering, super excited.
Stop lying, we did not cheer. We did not cheer.
Cheering in the hearts, isn't it?
Eternally. Yeah.
Well, of course, that was crazy. And, well, Danley, I think we got a cute friend over there joining us.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Waffles.
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 He's
Hi,
very friendly.
Waffles. Was Waffles there when you guys were playing the match? Was Waffles there giving you luck?
He was cheering us on.
In spirit, he was there.
He was cheering us on.
That's so adorable. Well, congratulations, guys, on your victory. It was a fantastic 2-0. You guys left us on the edge of our seats. But the big question, are we going to be seeing more Dragapult from you guys? Because this is the first time we have seen it in competitive play.
So I'll pass it on to our in-house Dragapult expert.
I think Ice do
Ice?
it. Hi. As the official drafter of Renaissance for ACL, we will keep it Dragapult in the pocket until further notice.
Until further notice. Okay, well noted, but of course, still great clutch plays, and thank you so much for putting such a massive performance, Renaissance, and we'll definitely hope to see you guys real soon.
Thank you.
All right, that was amazing. I love seeing Waffles having that little team mascot there. Sometimes you got to have that little fluffy friend to give you that extra energy. But that last hit, Shifu, sometimes you just got to have that Zapdos flip. Sorry, the Zapdos Rayquaza flip. I'm
Still living
an OG,
in the past.
I'm an OG Unite player, okay?
Yeah. Just flexing a little while everyone knows, like, oh, boomer. Just kidding.
Wow, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
don't mean to be that mean, but hey, like that game, we still couldn't get over it, right? Like, with all the things that have went on. Of course, we want to take a look at the bracket as we have seen Renaissance taking a massive 2-0 victory. I believe with this clean win, this should place them in a higher priority, or should I say tied with Team MYS.
Yes, so MYS and Renaissance, because they've won their games for today, they will be tying in first place with 3 points apiece. Whereas, unfortunately for Escape 5, because they weren't able to secure at least one game in that matchup, they're going to walk away with no points. But luckily for Secret Rare, because they could drag it out to the full 3 games, they were able to pick up that 1 point. So that does put them ahead of Escape 5. Now, for people that are wondering what's happening with Rise, this team is not playing today, but we should be seeing them next week, I believe. So we are going to see this team come up and finally show us what they have, but I'm very sure that they tune into the broadcast to see how the other teams are playing and to see what Pokemon are currently being chosen. But it's sad to hear that Dragapult might not make another appearance for Renaissance, because I was pretty happy to see it.
He said till further notice, so
Till further-
we'll just have to wait. Gauntlet rounds, ACL finals, maybe.
Maybe?
Big maybe.
Well, I'm wondering if maybe we could be seeing a patch for Dragapult, you know, because right now the Pokemon seems a little bit wonky. There are so many other Pokemon that can do what Dragapult does better, but we'll leave that to the balancing team on the side of Teamy. But we do want to remind all of you tuning into the stream, if you are watching on Twitch, we currently have a giveaway happening right now, but you're not going to be able to claim it today. So how the giveaway works is that if you sign up to the stream elements with your Twitch account, you're going to be starting to earn some channel points. Not just normal channel points, these are giveaway points. Now, if you claim enough points, you can redeem prizes with the points that you have collected. And to collect points, all you have to do is watch the stream. And as you can see on the screen, these are all the rewards that you can redeem. They are unfortunately first come, first serve. So we have a limited quantity of all these things. So if you want to be one of the first people to claim the rewards, make sure you tune into every single broadcast on Twitch.
That's right, and make sure you complete that registration on Stream Elements too, and you can walk away with so many great prizes. You know, I love Pokemon trading cards, and they are offering booster packs, the tins, the keychain of Pikachus. You guys can't get enough of Pikachus, you know, like my sister collects them too. So
I mean, who is it? One of the, I think, Indonesian Pokemon casters. He collects Pikachu. We saw the collection. There were so many of them. But aside from that, we do want to remind all of you, if you haven't already, make sure you save this website here. This is your guidebook to the Asia Champions League. It's got the schedule, it's got the teams, it's got the dates for every single competition day. So if you have any questions that you need answering for the competition, that microsite is going to have everything that you need. So make sure you bookmark it. But firstly, I want to say thank you to everyone that tuned into the broadcast. We appreciate all of you watching all this Pokemon Unite action with us. And Contra, do you have any final words before we close out the show?
Make sure you tune in once again on the weekends. We'll be here yet again. So, of course, from all of us here, we have a whole lot of fun. I hope you guys do too here in the Pokemon Unite Asia Champions League Southeast Asia. Make sure to also watch East Asia as well as India. That happens on, I believe,
Tomorrow.
Yes. It's going to be India.
Yeah, so make sure you tune into the broadcast tomorrow, because again, channel points, you want those goodies. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. It's going to be super exciting. But that's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We'll see you all either tomorrow or next week.